Chapter 33:45. Yu Yang and Luan Shi thought about it for a while. They had thought of some ideas, but they didn't think it would work. Mo Chanqian said, "According to what you said, it is pointless for us to keep a low profile. We are encroaching on the rights of the patriarchs. They won't say anything now, but they will hold a grudge against us later. They will use all kinds of tricks to deal with us. What should we do then?" Yu Yang didn't say anything. Luan Shi, on the other hand, was confused. When they were in the chaotic star region, everything was going well. It felt like the sky was not falling down. Now, they suddenly realized that it was because they had the support of their families and the 9 powerful warriors. When they came to the immortal region, they found their backbone because of Lu Li. Now that Lu Li was leaving and there were dangers lurking around, they were confused and at a loss of what to do. If it was just a simple fight, they wouldn't be so panicked. But now, it was about schemes and power struggles, which they were not good at. They would not have to fight in the God of Death. Lu Li didn't say anything. He looked at them quietly, letting them think and figure out their own ways. He could help them once, but he could not help them forever. When he was gone, many things would happen. They would have to deal with everything by themselves. Yu Yang thought for a while and said, "Take the initiative." Mo Chanqian seemed to understand as well. She said, "Huddle together and advance step by step." Luan Shi thought for a long time. Seeing Lu Li looking at her encouragingly, she said, "Improve our strength." "Yes, strength." Lu Li finally opened his mouth. He said with a smile, "But the strength I am talking about is different from what you are thinking of. You're talking about your own fighting ability, right? I'm talking about the overall strength of your faction." Mo Chanqian and Yu Yang were deep in thought. Lu Li explained, "You must have heard of this saying. In front of absolute strength, all tricks and schemes are useless. You have to become a big faction. Of course, this faction is not to divide the power of the Three Master. Instead, you have to be absolutely loyal to the Three Master. If there are internal factions among the Three Master, you have to choose the Chief Master. The 3 of you will form a large faction, and this faction will be led by Yu Yang, because it is not convenient for Mo Chanqian and Luan Shi to appear in public, so Yu Yang is more suitable to form alliances. You have to rope in the martial artist from the Death God sect. You have to rope in Li Heng as well. Of course, if he acts recklessly, you have to abandon him. Not only do you have to rope in the martial artists of the Grim Reaper, you also have to rope in the powerhouses of the army. You have a very good identity, instructor. In the upcoming battle, if you can achieve a great victory, your authority will also be established. At this time, Yu Yang, you should interact more with them. Don't be in a hurry to form a faction, but it's necessary to maintain a good relationship with some experts. There are more than a dozen elders in the Immortal Seeking Palace. These elders all have their own subordinates. Among them, there are 4 elders with great authority. If something were to happen, it would most likely happen to these 4 elders. As long as you remember 2 things, always be loyal to the great palace master and gather a group of powerhouses around you, then any schemes and plots will be meaningless. The great palace master is not an idiot. The powerful warriors of the Immortal Seeking Palace should be related to the 4 elders in some way. If you want to build your own subordinates, you are actually trying to poach from them. Therefore, you cannot be too hasty. You have to divide, rope them in, and suppress them. You have to use all kinds of means. Slowly, build your own subordinates step by step. This is the foundation for you to settle down. As long as you have a group of powerful warriors supporting you, even if a great palace master wants to do something to you, he will have to weigh the pros and cons." Lu Li's explanation was very detailed. Every aspect was made clear. Yu Yang, Mo Chanqian, and Luan Shi were all in deep thoughts. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Yu Yang nodded and said, "I understand. Lu Li, don't worry. I know what to do. Don't worry about Chanqian and Luan Shi. I will take good care of them." Mo Chanqian looked at Lu Li when Yu Yang said this. Luan Shi blushed. Yu Yang seemed to be telling Lu Li not to worry and that he would take good care of Lu Li's 2 wives. Lu Li felt embarrassed as well. He coughed and said, "Okay, the war is about to start. Go back and have a good rest. Think about it yourselves. I will observe in secret. If anything happens, I will send a message to you." The three of them left. Before Wan Shi left, she looked back at Lu Li. Her eyes were ambiguous and flirty. Lu Li didn't know what to feel. What is this girl thinking about? Lu Li couldn't figure it out. Was Wan Shi flirting with him? Or did she want to have some kind of relationship with him? But he was about to leave. What was the use even if they had sex? Could it be that she just wanted to repay his kindness? Devote herself to him and bury the hatchet with him? Wan Shi shouldn't be a girl that would lose her self-respect. The battleships arrived at the Green Cliff Mountain. The atmosphere of war was even more intense. Many scouts were sent out. Armies of the Milky Way Society and the Hall of Martial Arts were in place, ready to depart at any time. 3 days later, the army departed and flew towards the chaotic Sun City. The chaotic Sun City used to be a small city, but because of the secret realm that was developed, the city became rich overnight. The city had grown bigger, and the forces there were more powerful. The overall strength of the city was stronger. There used to be 5 forces in the chaotic Sun City, but there was internal strife. In order to avoid internal strife, the 5 forces in the city decided to work together to conquer the nearby Milky Way City. In this way, the interests could be divided and the conflicts between the forces wouldn't be so deep. Little did they expect that the Hall of Light, the second most powerful force in the chaotic Sun City, would be destroyed before the war even began. Later on, the 4 forces attacked the Milky Way Society and returned in defeat. The conflicts in the city didn't lessen. Instead, they got worse. Originally, the internal forces of the chaotic Sun City were complicated. The most powerful force, the Dragonbone Mountain, was too arrogant. The other forces all held grudges against the Dragonbone Mountain more or less. Also, the Dragonbone Mountain occupied the secret realm, so the other forces hated the Dragonbone Mountain. The third most powerful force was the Six Boards Palace. The fourth and fifth forces, the Netherworld Valley and the Maluo Palace, were weaker, but they formed an alliance. The alliance was not a close one, and there would be internal strife as well. Therefore, the chaotic Sun City was in chaos. In addition, after the defeat this time, they fought even more fiercely. There was a storm brewing in the dark, and everyone was in danger. When the army of the Milky Way Society came, the Dragonbone Mountain summoned the leaders of the other 3 forces and held a meeting for the whole night. They temporarily reorganized and mobilized their armies to defend against the enemy. This was the norm in the celestial realm. Usually, they would eat in the same pot and fight for it. But if an outsider wanted to snatch the pot, they would immediately unite and cut off the hand that reached over to protect the pot. This was different from the last time. Last time, they only mobilized 900,000 troops. This time, because of the aggressiveness of the Milky Way Society, they mobilized all the troops that could be mobilized. The number of troops reached 3 million. The number of troops of the Milky Way Society was much smaller, totaling only 600,000. But this time, the Milky Way Society was full of confidence because the Immortal Seeking Palace had finished their training. 3,000 experts were comparable to 1 million troops. P.S. I will update in a few days. There's so many things to do. The Third Sect Leader. Chapter 3346. The armies of the 2 sides met in a large mountain range to the south of chaotic Yang City. The chaotic Yang City had built a defensive formation. 2 million soldiers from both sides were here. The mountain range, which wasn't very big, was suddenly filled. The 2 sides didn't start the war right away. Instead, they confronted each other. The chief of the Tianhe Society sent an emissary to negotiate with the Dragonbone Mountain. If the Dragonbone Mountain was willing to cede some territory to them, the war could be stopped. The Mountain Master of Dragonbone Mountain met with an elder of the Milky Way Association. After hearing the elder's conditions, he slapped the elder across the face and sent him flying. When 2 armies fought, the emissary was not to be killed. If it wasn't an emissary, or if it wasn't a sane emperor but a powerful cultivator, the master of the Dragonbone Mountain would have slapped the emissary to death. The Tianhe Society was too arrogant. They wanted half of the resources of the Dragonbone Mountain. How long had it been? The Tianhe Society was nothing in their eyes. How dare they attack them now? And they even made such harsh conditions? The four forces combined had more powerful cultivators infinitely close to the peak level, more saint emperors, and twice as many soldiers. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Even if they lost last time, they might not lose this time. The master of the Dragonbone Mountain knew what the Tianhe society was relying on. The hundreds of powerful cultivators from the Immortal's quest. It was just a strange battle formation. This time, the master of the Dragonbone Mountain made up his mind. He would kill the 300 warriors with the battle formation, even if he had to sacrifice a powerful cultivator infinitely close to the peak level. Since they couldn't come to an agreement, they had to fight. 3 days later, the war broke out, but something that surprised the four major forces happened. This time, before the army of the Milky Way Society started to move, all the experts who were infinitely close to the consummate level of the Milky Way Society moved and directly attacked. There was nothing they could do. The other side had used nuclear weapons. Their powerful cultivators infinitely close to the peak level could also fight. Otherwise, their army would be wiped out. Both sides left 2 supreme experts to guard the place, and the rest of the supreme experts went up to the sky to fight. The Sky River Society had 2 less supreme experts, so if they were to fight, the chaotic Yang City would have the upper hand. Whoosh! Just as the battle began, 3 beams of light suddenly flew over from the east, and 3 powerful auras filled the air. The experts from the chaotic Yang City swept their eyes over them, and their expressions all turned grave. The newcomers were 3 old devils, and they were cultivating in seclusion in a dangerous place nearby. They couldn't have come here for no reason. Since the chaotic Yang City didn't know about this, there was only one possibility. The Sky River Guild had paid a huge price to hire these 3 old demons to deal with chaotic Yang City. Originally, the chaotic Yang City had 2 more supreme experts, but now they had 1 less. Moreover, the 3 old devils' battle prowess was extremely terrifying. As expected, these 3 old demons joined the Milky Way Society side and began to attack the supreme experts here. This time, the powerhouses of the chaotic Yang City started to feel the pressure because they could no longer take advantage of the utmost powerhouses. The army below began to attack. The army of the Tianhe Society pressed forward first, followed by the army of the Martial Arts Demonstration Hall. The Immortal Seeking Palace's army was the last to make their move. They charged in from a corner, and 3,000 soldiers moved together. 3,000 soldiers sounded like a lot, but in reality, compared to the entire battlefield, it was like a small boat in a large river, completely insignificant. However, this small boat was extremely sharp, and it was like a sharp knife that ruthlessly stabbed in. 3,000 soldiers and 300 martial artists were 2 different concepts. 3,000 soldiers could do a lot more things. The 3,000 soldiers were like a super war chariot that rolled over. Previously, the 300 soldiers had created a bloody path, but the 3,000 soldiers had directly turned an entire region into a vacuum. This battle formation was the same as before, and its power had increased significantly. How could the soldiers of the chaotic Yang City defend against it? Wherever these 3,000 soldiers advanced, that side would immediately be cleared. The soldiers of the chaotic Yang City were still the same as before. A Saint Emperor led a group of soldiers. How could such an army stop the Immortal Seeking Palace? They were unstoppable. In just 15 minutes, the Immortal Seeking Palace's army had already penetrated through the chaotic Yang City's army in the east. They had already slaughtered about 100,000 soldiers. This massacre was simply too easy. It was like an elephant trampling over a colony of ants. Charge to the left front. The left front is organizing the experts. Turn around and disperse the formation at the back. Speed up and charge over. The target is 3,000 miles ahead. Orders came to Yu Yang's ears. Those were Lu Li's orders. It was the first time for Yu Yang to take command, so his reaction was not fast enough. If it were not for Lu Li's secret command, things would not have been so easy even if it were not for him. Once the palace of Immortal Seeking Palace's army was stopped, they would be in a quagmire. Losing some warriors was not a big deal, but they would not be as lethal as before. That would affect the overall situation. We cannot go on like this. The Dragonbone Mountain's Mountain Lord had been secretly observing the situation below. When he saw the Immortals' Quest Palace's army surging forward, he was shocked. If they could not think of a way, in a couple of hours, the 1,000,000 soldiers would be wiped out. By then, what would be the point of their lives when all the soldiers were wiped out? What was more, the situation up there was not so good. With the addition of the 3 old demons, the Milky Way Society had gained the upper hand. As more and more warriors were killed, the morale of the Milky Way Society's army was declining. One wrong move, and some of their most powerful warriors could be killed. Brother 4, Brother 6, the master of the Dragonbone Mountain said, "Go down and attack the warriors of the Palace of Immortal Seeking. Even if you have to die, you must kill more than half of them." The master of the Dragonbone Mountain was not willing to lose like this. He was ready to fight. As long as they could kill the warriors of the Palace of Immortal Seeking, they would have a chance to turn the tables. The 2 powerful warriors of the Dragonbone Mountain looked at each other and made up their minds. Guay, one of the Palace of Immortal Seeking, had not shown up. Needless to say, he was secretly protecting the army of the Palace of Immortal Seeking. Therefore, they would be attacked by Guay if they went down. They might even be killed by Guay 1. But they could not worry about that now. For the foundation of the Dragonbone Mountain, they had to fight with their lives. Boom, boom, boom. The Dragonbone Mountain chieftain and a group of supreme experts suddenly unleashed their attacks, forcing the experts of the Milky Way Association to retreat. 2 supreme experts of the Dragonbone Mountain frantically rushed down towards the Immortal Seeking Palace's army. Guay flashed out like a ghost and appeared above the army of the Palace of Immortal Seeking. He released a black veil that shrouded the army of the Palace of Immortal Seeking. He did not take the initiative to attack the 2 powerful warriors. Instead, he looked at them with a cold smile, as if he were looking at 2 idiots. One of the powerful warriors of the Dragonbone Mountain snorted and said, "Guay 1, do you think you can stop us?" Guay stood with his hands behind his back and said with a smile, "It doesn't matter whether I can stop you or not. What matters is whether your boss is still alive." Boom! There was a sudden explosion above. A dazzling light shone, and then a shrill cry was heard. "Old Ghost 6 Plates!" The 2 powerful warriors of the Dragonbone Mountain looked over and saw the master of the Dragonbone Mountain explode. 5 powerful warriors attacked him at the same time. His body exploded and turned into a mist of blood. 3rd Sect Master. Chapter 33:47. Ordinary warriors borrowed the power of heaven and earth to mobilize the power of heaven and earth that was infinitely close to perfected martial artists. Perfected martial artists could control the power of heaven and earth. These were 3 different realms. Experts who were infinitely close to perfected martial artists could mobilize the power of heaven and earth. Their battle prowess would increase greatly, and their chances of dying would be greatly reduced. Since Dragonbone Mountain's Mountain Master could become the leader, his battle prowess would definitely be above the group of Dragonbone Mountain's absolute experts. It would be difficult for such an expert to even be injured, let alone die in battle. Now he was dead. Moreover, he was killed instantly. How could the 2 absolute experts of Dragonbone Mountain believe this? 6 Plates' old ghost. The 2 absolute experts quickly discovered the problem. The 6 Plates Palace's Palace Master stood behind Dragonbone Mountain's Mountain Master. The long sword in his hand was still glowing weakly. It was obvious that he had also taken action. A mole! The 2 absolute experts' eyes were spewing fire. It was not just them. Countless soldiers and experts' eyes were filled with hatred. In the Celestial Territory, people could treat each other as enemies and attack each other. However, they hated traitors the most, especially when they were comrades. In the blink of an eye, they stabbed each other in the back. Kill! Suddenly, there were shouts from below. The 2 absolute experts of Dragonbone Mountain scanned the area with their divine consciousness. They were extremely furious. The martial artists of 6 Plates Palace had betrayed them. Their army had started attacking Dragonbone Mountain's army. Moreover, The martial artists of Six Plates Palace had obviously planned this. Their army was scattered. There were tens of thousands of phalanxes. Now that they had suddenly betrayed them, their army was instantly killed. Kill! There were also shocking shouts from above. The absolute experts of Milky Way Association and Six Plates Palace all took action. They crazily attacked Dragonbone Mountain and the other two factions' absolute experts. It was a mess above. Once the absolute experts of Six Plates Palace betrayed them, their side's strength was greatly reduced. However, the Milky Way Association's strength was greatly increased. They were no match for Milky Way Association at all. The situation was hopeless. This was what all the supreme experts of Dragonbone Mountain and the other two factions thought. The soldiers below were also panicking. Originally, the Immortal-Seeking Palace's army had almost caused the soldiers below to be defeated. Now that Six Boards Palace had turned against them, the situation had become even worse. A blood-curdling scream rang out from above. Yet another expert who was infinitely close to being a full-circle expert had died. The remaining supreme experts were completely flustered. If they didn't retreat now, they would either die here or be captured. Retreat! An expert from Dragonbone Mountain roared in grief and indignation. He was the first to flee towards the north. He was a very powerful expert from Dragonbone Mountain. As soon as he retreated, the others followed suit. The army below also began to frantically flee in all directions. At this moment, they didn't care about anything else. Escaping for their lives was the most important thing. Many soldiers did not even dare to flee towards the north because they knew very well that they could not defend Chaotic Yang City. If they went to Chaotic Yang City, it was very likely that they would not be able to escape again, even if they managed to escape this time. The army was routed. The president of the Milky Way Society did not lead the supreme experts to chase after the supreme experts of the three forces. He only left a part of the army to clean up the battlefield, while the rest of the army headed north to attack the Chaotic Yang City. All in one go. Right now, Dragonbone Mountain was like a group of dragons without a leader. Not only the army, but even the experts' morale was low. If they did not seize this opportunity to take down Chaotic Yang City, when would they? The army marched towards the north in a mighty manner. There was some distance between Dragonbone Mountain and the Chaotic Yang City. It would take the army more than half a month to get there. It would take the army of Dragonbone Mountain half a month to get back at the fastest speed. Therefore, there was nothing to worry about. The Chaotic Yang City could be taken down easily. Luli didn't leave right away, even though the war was won. He sneaked along with the army and pretended to be a scout from the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries. He would be safe once the Chaotic Yang City was taken down. The army marched on with ease. They found several lands of resources and conquered them easily. More than half a month later, they arrived at the Chaotic Yang City. The huge Chaotic Yang City had actually become an empty city. All the experts of Dragonbone Mountain had fled, and there were not many Saint Emperors left. However, there were quite a lot of soldiers. White flags were hung up in the city, indicating that they had surrendered. This was a common situation. When average warriors surrendered, their superiors would not look into it because they needed more warriors as well. Many warriors of the Milky Way Society were the ones that once destroyed the second force. They were treated equally. The powerful warriors at the Chaotic Yang City emptied the city and took away all the useful treasures. There were still many powerful warriors at Dragonbone Mountain. They could start all over again in another place. With so many powerful warriors, the Milky Way Society would rise again soon. What happened next was simple. The powerful warriors split up, and each of them led their armies to conquer the lands of resources and occupied the entire area nearby. Half a month later, all the lands near the Chaotic Yang City were conquered. The Milky Way Society basically had two cities under their control. Luli could put his mind at ease. Warriors of the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries returned to the capital as well, leaving Inquisitor Ghost to share the interests and lands with other forces. There was no doubt that the greatest contributor was not the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries, but the Six Plates Palace. The betrayal of the Six Plates Palace was the key to the victory. Of course, The Palace of Immortals Inquiries also played a big role, especially now that the Palace of Immortals Inquiries was much more powerful. Inquisitor Ghost would be satisfied with the division of interests. Deputy Master and Third Master went back with the army. They wanted to keep an eye on this precious army so that it would not be assassinated by powerful warriors of the Dragonbone Mountain. What if powerful warriors of the Dragonbone Mountain came back secretly to seek revenge? The army had a smooth journey back to the Milky Way City. Deputy Master gave out rewards again and announced that the warriors of the Palace of Immortals Inquiries could rest for 10 days. Some of the warriors from the Hall of Martial Arts came back as well. The Milky Way City was bustling with noise and excitement. The taverns, restaurants, and brothels were all full. So many warriors had been rewarded. They had been so depressed. How could they not come to celebrate and relax after the victory? Luli didn't go to those places. Instead, he drank with Sun Feather, Emo Chanchian, and Luan Shina Manor. This was Sun Feather's manor. Luli planned to leave in a couple of days. He planned to gather some information and pick a route before he set off. This was a farewell banquet. The four of them drank for half the night and drank dozens of jugs of good wine. After they were done, Emo Chanchian sneaked into Lu Li's room. The two of them rolled in the sheets for the whole night. It was an intense battle. The next day, Lu Li went back to the city and began to gather information. He spent many celestial stones and got a lot of information. When he came back, he went back to his room and began to analyze and organize information. At the same time, he planned the way and route to leave. Knock, knock, knock. There came a knock on the door. Lu Li was surprised. Sun Feather and the other two seemed to have been called over by Deputy Master, who would be here to disturb him. When he opened the door, he saw a beautiful figure in purple standing there, looking at him with a smile. Luan Shi. Lu Li was surprised. He asked, "Didn't Deputy Master call you over?" "It's none of my business." Luan Shi put her hands behind her back and walked in on tiptoe. She said with a smile, "You are leaving soon. I'm here to see you off." Third Master. Chapter 3348. Lu Li hadn't left yet, and even if he did, he wouldn't be seeing her off in the room. Luan Shi was being ambiguous. Lu Li already felt something was off with Luan Shi. Now, he felt even more off, but Luan Shi had gone in. What else could Lu Li say? He could only follow them in. Lu Li poured Luan Shi a cup of tea. Luan Shi glanced over to the table and saw that Lu Li was reading some documents. She asked, "Patrol, have you found the route? What's the safest way?" "It's not safe no matter where we go." Lu Li smiled bitterly and shook his head. Although there are some merchant associations that provide some warships, and there are experts that are infinitely close to the consummate level escorting them, the cost is huge. Most importantly, the Chamber of Commerce could not guarantee absolute safety, especially when going to the eastern region, which was even more dangerous. There were very few teleportation altars, because most of the factions were enemies with each other and did not have teleportation arrays. Only a few main cities have teleportation altars, but with my wealth and status, I don't have the qualifications to make the king of the Southern Territory activate the teleportation altar. And Luan Shi frowned and asked, "Then why did you fly directly to the eastern region? How many years will that take?" "No." Lu Li shook his head and said, "I will go to a big city nearby and take the Chamber of Commerce's battleship to the border between the Southern Territory and the Eastern Territory. After that, I will fly to the Eastern Territory on my own. It's relatively safer in the Southern region. If we go to the Eastern region, there's not much point in taking a warship." As a matter of fact, Lu Li had already inquired about the way to the Eastern region, and Yu Yang had helped him as well. The Immortal Realms was too chaotic. Hence, no matter how big the Merchant Association was, it was meaningless. Even if it was the warship of the Southern King clan, there would still be experts who dared to attack it. If he ran to the Eastern region after the ambush, would the king of the Southern region bite him? There was no point in building a teleportation altar, as the two cities would often go to war. Building a teleportation array wouldn't allow the other side to attack them. Therefore, many teleportation altars were destroyed and never rebuilt again. Only the royal cities of the Realm Lords had teleportation altars, but only super powerful warriors or disciples of major families could use them. Given Lu Li's identity, not even 1,000,000,000,000 celestial stones could help him. Therefore, after much consideration, Lu Li decided to take a commercial ship to the eastern region first and then fly to the Mystic Armor City by himself. If everything went well, they would arrive at the city of Mystic Armor in 3 to 4 years. If it didn't go smoothly, who knew how long it would take? "Do you have wine here?" Luan, she suddenly said. Lu Li was surprised. He looked into Luan Shi's eyes, took out a jar of good wine from his ring, and said, "Of course I have wine." "Luan Shi, are you in a bad mood?" "Yeah." Luan Shi poured herself a goblet of wine, and then poured one for Lu Li. She said bitterly, "You are leaving? I don't feel safe, so I'm a bit down. Parting is always sad, isn't it?" Hee hee. Lu Li smiled and said, "Life doesn't always go your way. Plus, you're just temporarily away from your family, so you're not used to it. You are also an expert and a peerless genius. As long as you work hard, you will have a great chance of becoming an expert infinitely close to the great perfection realm. Perhaps the next time we meet, I will need your protection." "You flatter me." After drinking another cup, Luan Shi said, "I know it myself. Mo Chantian may break through infinitely close to the great perfection realm, but it should be very difficult for me to break through. Even if I can break through, it will take at least 10,000 years. It is good to have ambition, but if you are too persistent, that ambition will turn into evil thoughts. By then, you may never be able to break through in this lifetime. So, I never place my hopes on the future. I am used to cherishing the present." When Luan Shi said the last sentence, she suddenly looked at Lu Li. The light in her eyes rippled like water, like a seductive kitten. Maybe it was because of the wine, but her face became rosy. Her breath smelled like orchids, exuding a tempting fragrance. Lu Li had mixed feelings. Luan Shi was clearly courting him. She was a delicate beauty, a golden flower of the Grim Reaper, a goddess in the hearts of countless men. At this moment, she was actively seducing and flirting with him. The most important thing was that she was not flirting like Mo Chantian. He felt that she was serious and really wanted something to happen between them. Lu Li was about to leave. Even if they did something, it would feel like a friendship bomb. If Lu Li died, then Luan Shi's kiss would be free. Luan Shi looked like she was still a virgin. Wasn't it a little too hasty to give her away like this? If it was the Lu Li of the past, he would have already done it. Any man would be moved by a beauty as beautiful as jade, and Lu Li was very moved. But now, Lu Li didn't dare to act rashly because he had too many love debts. This was too much for him to bear. Pleasure for a moment, but love debts could be carried for a lifetime. Lu Li was silent for a moment and said, "Lady Luan Shi, you are still young and have a long way to go in life. Maybe the scenery you see now is not the best. What if you encounter better scenery in the future?" Luan Shi shook her head and said firmly, "I am a sentimental person. Lu Li, I will be straightforward. I am actually not sure that I have fallen in love with you. Maybe I have some good feelings towards you, some gratitude towards you, or maybe it is just a moment of impulse. In short, I really want to give my first time to you. I just want to be in your arms. Maybe it is also because I don't feel safe in the immortal region. I'm afraid that I might lose my virginity at any time, so I want to leave a good memory for myself. My patrol inspector Lu, are you willing to give me a good memory?" Luan Shi looked at him affectionately. Her eyes were full of expectation and desire, and even a little pleading. This kind of expression, coupled with a beautiful face, was enough to melt any man with a heart of stone. Lu Li's heart was also melted, but he still clenched his teeth and persisted. Although Luan Shi had made it very clear, Lu Li was still a little hesitant. On the other side, Luan Shi drank another glass of wine. Suddenly, she shot out some source energy from her hand and activated the sacred glyph in the room. She stretched out her hand and slowly undid the belt around her waist. The robe slowly slid down, revealing the pink underwear underneath. Her snow-white shoulders and jade-like thighs and arms were exposed. Her towering twin peaks almost burst out of her underwear. She was a little shy. Her pretty face was bright red. She closed her eyes and stood there quietly. At this point, if Luli still hesitated, then he would be Lu Xiaohui. He strode over, held Luan Shi by the waist, and walked towards the bed. After putting Luan Shi on the bed, Luan Shi opened her eyes. She looked at Lu Li with a face full of affection and said, "Darling, Luan Shi is still immature. Please take care of me." This sentence felt like the most powerful aphrodisiac. It instantly ignited all of Lu Li's passion and flames. He turned over and climbed onto the big bed. He no longer had any worries and began to give Luan Shi the most gentle and beautiful first experience as a veteran in the field of love. After a series of actions, the temperature of the room rose sharply. A charming atmosphere also began to circulate. The room instantly became dark and beautiful. The Third Master. Chapter 33:49. Dongling City. Dongling City was a big city at the southern region, occupied by a super force. The city had been under their control for more than 10,000 years, and it was a stable place. The force was powerful, and it was said that they had something to do with the king of the southern region. Therefore, few forces dared to come and take over the Dongling City. Today, a warrior came to the Dongling City. He was an inconspicuous Emperor Realm warrior and an old man. There were so many Emperor Realm warriors that no one paid attention to him. The old man entered the Dongling City easily. He wandered around the city and soon found a castle. It was a large chamber of commerce. This chamber of commerce belonged to the super force. They had battleships that were used to escort warriors, but they were expensive. This old man was Lu Li in disguise. As soon as he went in, a maid came to greet him. She didn't belittle him just because he was an Emperor Realm warrior. She asked Lu Li if he needed anything. When Lu Li said he wanted to take a battleship, the maid showed him to a side chamber where an old man was sitting. The old man was also polite. He asked, "Where do you want to go?" "Cloud King City." Lu Li told him his destination. Cloud King City was the largest city at the east of the southern region. Beyond Cloud King City was the eastern region. This was the southernmost part of the southern region. Cloud King City was the easternmost part of the southern region. It was a long way. If everything went smoothly, they could get there in more than half a year. Cloud King City? The old man nodded. He threw a map to Lu Li and said, "There are 2 routes. The prices are different, and the safety is different as well. Please take a look." Lu Li took it over and read it carefully. One of the 2 routes was longer and the other was shorter. The longer route would require a detour to go to the central region first and then to the eastern region. The other route was more direct, but the prices were different. One would cost 100 billion celestial stones, and the other would cost 500 billion. The shorter route was more expensive. The old man explained, "The shorter route is faster. It will only take half a year. Also, the battleship is small and there are not many passengers. Therefore, the price is higher. This battleship has 3 powerful warriors that are very close to the absolute realm. Relatively speaking, it will be safer, but we cannot guarantee absolute safety." Lu Li asked, "How long will the other battleship take? How safe is it?" The old man explained, "The other battleship will take a year, and the safety is the same. No one knows what will happen. You also know that no place in the immortal realms is safe." Lu Li nodded and said, "I will take the shortest route. When do we leave? How do I pay for the celestial stones?" "We'll depart in about a month." The elder explained, "In terms of celestial stones, you will have to pay 200 billion celestial stones first. You will have to pay another 200 billion celestial stones halfway. You will have to pay the remaining celestial stones when you arrive at the Cloud Monarch City." "Very reasonable." Lu Li nodded in satisfaction. This was a very conscientious person. Lu Li had no reason to hesitate. He handed over 200 billion celestial stones without hesitation. He had a lot of celestial stones. Yu Yang gave him some, and the second palace lord gave him a lot. Before he left, the second palace lord gave him a lot of celestial stones. Therefore, Lu Li didn't mind, even if the 200 billion celestial stones were swindled. Such a big force wouldn't be so reckless. After all, once there was negative news about them, nobody would believe them anymore. Luli handed over the celestial stones and got a token. He found a tavern to stay in and started closed-door cultivation, waiting for the day of departure. The city was lively and there were many strange places. But Luli was not in the mood to wander around. The Eastern Spirit City was a complicated place where accidents could easily happen. I wonder how Mo Chantian, Wan Shi, Yu Yang, and the others are going to be. The faces of the three people appeared in Luli's mind. He felt a bit melancholy. Mo Chantian and Luan Shi were two delicate beauties. If they were targeted by some powerful warrior, it would be very likely that something bad would happen to them. Even though Mo Chantian and Luan Shi were like fish in water and they didn't have too many feelings for each other, Luli was a man who valued friendship. There was some truth in the saying that time breeds affection. However, he had left. It was pointless to think too much. He couldn't do anything about it, even if he wanted to. It was up to their own fate. Also, he was not omnipotent. He couldn't fight against powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the complete achievement. Now that he had chosen to come to the immortal region, he had to be responsible for his own actions. Luli's journey was full of dangers. He had better think about himself. He stopped thinking and started closed-door cultivation. Soon, more than a month had passed. 2 days before the departure, Luli stopped cultivating. He went out to collect information. He spent a lot of celestial stones and bought a lot of information. It was about the road between the eastern region and the southern region. However, the information was not very useful because the situation could change at any time. Maybe the information that was just received would change again in a few days. Take the southern region as an example. There were several famous demon dens along the way where some powerful old demons lived. But who knew if there were still old demons living in those caves? What if those old demons had moved to another place? Those old demons wouldn't stay in one place for a long time because they had too many enemies. The mobility of powerful warriors in the immortal region was too strong. Take the chaotic Yang City, for example. When all the powerful warriors ran away, they would find another place and rise again. Since they wanted to rise again, there must be some small forces that were destroyed by them or driven away by them. The powerful warriors that were driven away would go to another place. There were also some old demons that wandered around. They were destructive and had a violent personality. Every place they went, they would burn, kill, and loot. Soon, they would attract the attention of nearby forces. In the end, they would be driven away or killed after staying for a while. After a few days of investigation, the time was up. Luli went to the castle and was arranged to go outside the city. There were already hundreds of warriors waiting there. Most of them were Saint Emperors. Only a few were at the Emperor realm. There were also a few young masters and young ladies with guards. Inside, there was a little girl who looked like she was carved out of jade. She was accompanied by a few guards. Most of these hundreds of warriors were from strange races. There were also a few humans. In the immortal region, humans were rare, but there were still some. After waiting for a few more hours, hundreds of warriors arrived. The powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit City had arrived as well. There were 3 experts that were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm and 5 Saint Emperors. A Saint Emperor took out a warship. The warship wasn't big, but it was obviously a very high-class warship. The 3 experts that were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm flashed and entered the top floor. The warship had 2 floors. There weren't many cabins on the top floor, but there were more than 1,000 cabins on the bottom floor. Luli and the others lined up and went up. Each warrior was given a cabin. Don't leave the cabin if you don't have anything to do. Don't use your divine senses to check. If anything happens, we will inform you immediately. A Saint Emperor's voice sounded in the minds of Li and the others. If you encounter sudden thunder or nightmare night, then everyone can only pray for the best. We can't help you with these things. All right, let's go. The warship flashed and turned into a stream of light. Soon, it disappeared into the eastern sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 3350. As soon as Luli boarded the battleship, he activated the runes in the cabin and went into closed-door cultivation. There were tea houses and taverns in the cabin, but Luli was not interested. If he wanted to drink tea, he had Daoist Gui to give him the best tea and wine. He didn't have to go out. During this period of time, he had been refining his body, cultivating his soul, and cultivating his origin energy. Apart from these three things, he didn't know what else to do. Was he going to sit in the cabin and daydream? The battleship was fast. There was a blood-red flag with a machete in the middle. This was the symbol of the Eastern Spirituality House. The flag was prestigious. At least, many forces of the southern region wouldn't deliberately target the flag. Of course, this battleship wouldn't advance recklessly. Its flight path was carefully planned. It would deliberately detour around some areas occupied by peerless old devils. It would also detour far away from cities occupied by major powers to avoid conflict. Luli didn't care. If something went wrong, then everyone would die together. Also, there were 3 powerful warriors that were almost at the perfect realm. They still had a chance to run away. If anything happened, they could run away as soon as possible. What was more, Luli had the realm of Dharma. As long as he was not killed instantly, he could enter the realm of Dharma right away. Boom! 5 days later, a bolt of lightning suddenly came down. Luli was alarmed by the horrifying energy in heaven and earth. He checked with psychic power at once. He noticed that the battleship had turned around and the lightning didn't come down. Instead, it landed on the mountain next to them. The mountain was torn apart. Luli was relieved, but there were 3 powerful warriors that were almost at the perfect realm. They should be able to survive even if the lightning were to come down. The battleship moved on. Soon it was night. Luli was alarmed. Nighttime was what he was most afraid of. Once the battleship was in a state of nightmares, the situation would be dangerous. The warship did not slow down. A voice transmission rang out in the ears of all the martial artists. Everyone, please rest assured. We have a supreme expert who is extremely sensitive to nightmares. Once we hear the nightmares, we will immediately turn around. We will also warn everyone, so you can cultivate and rest in peace. Luli was relieved. The Saint Emperor wouldn't lie. Otherwise, it would be a slap to the face of their powerful warrior. Therefore, there was no need to worry about sleepless nights. He just needed to rest and cultivate in peace. The next month was safe and quiet. Luli didn't even feel anything when he was cultivating. Soon, 1.5 months had passed. The speed of this warship was very fast, and it was probably comparable to a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the great perfection realm. At this moment, it had already traversed who knew how many tens of thousands of miles. It would be great if it could stay calm like this. Luli prayed to himself. He was not here to gain experience. He didn't want anything to happen to him. The Southern Territory was so much safer than the Eastern Territory. If something happened in the Southern Territory, would they be able to break through the Eastern Territory? The more one was afraid of something, the more likely it would happen. After another 13 days, the warship had just flown over a large mountain range when a terrifying aura suddenly came from below. A startling white light flashed and fiercely struck the warship. The sword energy was so horrifying that Luli and the others were frightened. They felt cold all over as if they were in an ice house. All the martial artists felt a deadly sense of crisis, and it was extremely intense. A powerful warrior who is infinitely close to the great perfection realm. Luli's expressions changed. He was about to enter the realm of magic when a powerful warrior snorted. Then, a ray of yellow light came out from him. The light expanded and formed a shield that enveloped the warship. At the same time, the other 2 powerful warriors in the warship made their moves. They flew down like a gust of wind. One of them snorted, "How dare you attack the warship of the Eastern Spirit Mansion?" Boom! The ray of sword light landed on the yellow shield. The shield was shattered, but the ray of sword light was shattered as well. It didn't cause any harm to the warship. That being said, all the warriors in the warship felt their blood tumbling. Some of the great Emperor Realm warriors were injured. Whoosh! Luli dashed out of the cabin. Many warriors came out as well. Luli checked with psychic power. Many warriors were frightened. They would not suffer in a fight between immortals. Boom, boom, boom. Luli used psychic power to check. He saw 3 figures flashing around. They were so fast that he couldn't see them clearly with psychic power. That being said, the powerful warrior down there was really horrifying. He was fighting against two enemies at the same time. Whoosh! The warship flew away like a shooting star. The powerful warrior on the warship didn't take any actions. He had been protecting everyone on the warship. Fortunately, the powerful warrior didn't leave. Otherwise, the other warriors on the warship would have run away. The warship left quickly. An hour later, two people came back. They were the two powerful warriors from the Eastern Spirit Mansion. One of them had blood on him. Clearly, he was injured. Okay, it's okay now. Don't worry. The Heavenly Emperor's voice rang out once more, and the warriors on the warship felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. The little girl even patted her chest and said, "Two grandpas, the bad guys were beaten away. Grandpas are so powerful." The little baby's cry made the surrounding cultivators smile faintly. They felt like they had just survived a calamity. That powerful warrior was so strong. If that ray of sword light had landed on them, all of them would have been smashed into pieces. The warship moved on. The next 2 days were peaceful. The warriors were relieved. It seemed that the old demon would not catch up with them. It had been a long time. It would be hard for him to catch up. Whoosh! On the third day, there came a noise. Following that, 3 powerful warriors came. An angry voice shouted, "Bastards of the Eastern Spirit Mansion, where can you run to this time?" Swish, swish, swish. Many warriors on the warship were shocked. Luli rushed out at once and checked with psychic power. When he sensed that there were 3 powerful warriors, he knew he had to run. If he didn't, he might be killed. The 3 powerful warriors could just use one move, and the warship would explode, and they would be smashed into pieces. "Go and leave now. We will gather at the Purple Hill in half a month. If we don't show up in half a month, then we will call a day. You can go to the nearby cities and find the branch of the Eastern Spirit Mansion, Heaven's Stone." A supreme expert's voice resounded in the ears of all the martial artists. The 3 supreme experts all moved out and rushed towards the back in a frenzy. The warriors on this side also started to run. Even the Saint Emperors of the Eastern Spirit Mansion ran away. The 3 powerful warriors chasing after them were horrifying. That old demon could already fight against 2. Now, there were 2 more. Even the powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit Mansion might not be a match for them. The 3 powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit Mansion, who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm, weren't particularly strong. If they were, why would they be here as guards? Therefore, something might go wrong this time. If the 3 powerful warriors were killed, they would all die if they didn't run. Unlucky. Luli sighed in frustration. How far had they gone? They were supposed to fly for 6 months. Now, they had only flown for 2 months. They had only covered 1/3 of the distance. Luli finally saw the chaos in the immortal region. Third Sect Master. Chapter 33:51. Luli used stealth skill. Instead of flying up, he flew close to the ground. His energy was not strong to begin with. After he concealed it, he became even more inconspicuous. However, the 3 supreme experts who were chasing them didn't care about these small fries. The 6 supreme experts fought with each other. All the martial artists fled. They didn't escape in groups. Instead, they fled individually. Nobody trusted each other. Naturally, they wouldn't leave together. What if they were assassinated? Luli didn't fly at the top of his speed. He flew at a moderate speed. 2 hours later, he was relieved that no powerful warriors were coming after him. It seemed that the battle was not over yet. No powerful warriors would come after him for a while. Luli took a detour and flew toward the northeast. At least, it would be safer this way. After 16 hours of flying, it was night. Luli put his guard up, hoping that he wouldn't be caught in a nightmare. He slowed down again. At the same time, he used the trace of Great Path to sense the surroundings. There should be many ferocious beasts and even immortal beasts in the vicinity. He had run into such things along the way. For one thing, the battleship was fast and high. The battleship was also shielded from the warriors' energy. For another, there were powerful warriors that were almost at the consummate realm. Even if there were beasts or immortal beasts on the ground, they would be intimidated by the warriors. Roar. 2 hours later, Luli heard a roar coming from the front. The roar shook the mountains and rivers. Even Luli felt his heart was hammered. His face turned ghastly pale. Immortal beast. It must be a powerful one. One roar from such a long distance could make Luli's blood boil. If it were closer, wouldn't it slap Luli to death? He immediately wanted to go around it, but he didn't expect that after the giant beast roared once, it immediately stopped. The powerful energy was gone, as if it had just woken up and roared. Or was it suppressed by some other powerful beings? Luli sneaked around and breathed in relief after he flew for hundreds of thousands of miles. He was troubled. Flying high would make him a target. He could be targeted by the other warriors. He had to fly low. There were many beasts and immortal beasts in the wild. There was almost no way out of being targeted by the old demon. Luli had to fly close to the mountain. He had the mark of the Great Path, which gave him incredible senses. The more powerful the ferocious beasts and immortal beasts were, the more powerful their chi and blood were, and the easier it was for him to sense them. In one night, Luli flew for hundreds of millions of miles. He ran into some ferocious beasts, but it was a smooth journey. There were no nightmares. It would be safer when the sun rose. There are martial artists. Another few million miles later, Luli sensed some ripples in space up ahead. The ripples were coming from more than one place. Clearly, a battle was going on up ahead. Luli didn't want to get involved in the chaos. He quietly went around to the west. Unexpectedly, after he flew for tens of thousands of miles, 3 martial artists appeared on the battlefield. Luli used psychic power to check. A Saint Emperor was running away with a little girl. Another Saint Emperor was chasing after them. Is it them? Luli knew this little girl. She was on the same battleship as him. This little girl was too beautiful, as if she was carved out of crystal. Any martial artist who saw her would never forget her. The Saint Emperor with the little girl was injured. He was panic-stricken. While attacking, he ran for his life. Soon, he was close to Luli. Luli thought about it and dashed out. Then, he released a formation, which was noticed by the Saint Emperor who was chasing after him. That Saint Emperor was not strong, only at the middle stage of the Saint Emperor. Therefore, he fell for the formation easily. The Saint Emperor with the little girl looked at Luli. He stopped, cupped his fists, and said, "Thank you for saving me." Luli waved his hand and said, "It's okay. Now go." Luli vanished on the spot and continued to sneak away. Soon, he vanished into the distance. The Saint Emperor didn't linger. He left with the little girl quickly. For the next couple of days, Luli didn't run into any danger. Occasionally, he would run into some ferocious beasts. He sensed them in advance and ran away quickly. He had a map. Following it, he flew toward the Purple Peak. Even though he didn't think the powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit House could win, he still wanted to go and have a look. What if the Eastern Spirit House won? Then, he could take the battleship of the Eastern Spirit House to the Cloud King City. Riding on a warship was much faster than him, and it was also much safer. It was also very comfortable. Swish, when Luli was flying over a mountain, a thunderbolt came down from the sky. Luli was scared out of his wits, but he reacted quickly and entered the realm of Dharma at once. Boom! As soon as Luli entered, the thunderbolt came down. By the time he came out, there was a huge pit with a radius of more than 2 miles where he was standing. Phew, phew, Luli exhaled. He still had some lingering fear. If he had reacted 1 second slower, he would have been dead. His soul would be destroyed. There would be no way for him to rebuild his body. He would disappear from the world forever. The immortal region is such a damned place. Luli curled his lips. This was an unexpected disaster. It was such a small chance that he fell for it. Luckily, he had the realm of Dharma. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to run away. He could have just stood there waiting for death. Let's go. Luli didn't dare to stay any longer. He flew away quickly. The rest of the journey was smooth. After 5 or 6 days, he found the Purple Peak. There were already warriors waiting here. They were all on the same battleship. There were hundreds of them. Brother, Luli flew to the Purple Peak. The little girl, who was as pretty as a porcelain doll, ran over. She bowed to Luli and said, "Thank you so much for helping me fight off the bad guys and save Zishi. Zishi will treat you to a big meal later." Luli smiled. He patted the little girl's head and said, "Zishi, you're welcome. Go back now. Don't let your family worry." "Okay, thank you." The little girl smiled sweetly and ran back happily. Luli found a corner and sat with his legs crossed, waiting quietly. There were still a few days before the deadline of half a month. He wondered if the powerful warriors of the Easter Spirit House could come. A few days passed by in the blink of an eye, but the three supreme experts had yet to return. There is a Saint Emperor from the Eastern Spirit Manor here, and the jade talisman in his hand suddenly lit up. He scanned it with his divine sense, and a bitter expression appeared on his face. "Guys," the Saint King said sorrowfully, "I'm afraid our three ancestors won't be able to make it. I've just received news that 2 of our ancestors have died, so I'm very sorry that we won't be able to escort everyone. You can go to the nearby cities to get your celestial stones with the tokens that were given to you. I am leaving now. See you again." With that said, the Saint King flew away. Luli sighed. The worst-case scenario had happened. He had to go to the Cloud King City on his own. This trip would take 1 more year, and the danger would be multiplied. Third Master. Chapter 33:52. Luli had covered a third of the way. He would have to spend more than 100 billion celestial stones. He couldn't get back tens of billions even if he wanted to. Luli didn't even bother to. The Eastern Spirit House had suffered a great loss this time. They would have to deduct some celestial stones as well. Halfway there, it was pointless to go to other chambers of commerce now. There were no other big chambers of commerce nearby. Luli had to rely on himself. Warriors on the Purple Peak cursed and flew away. They still didn't dare to go together. Trust was low in the Immortal region. It was too chaotic here. Nobody trusted each other. It was better to go on their own. Luli was about to fly away when the little girl came over with the Saint King. The little girl had a pair of sapphire blue eyes. Her hair was purplish yellow. Her nose and ears were pointed as well. She looked like an elf. All that was missing was a pair of wings. Luli was naturally not on guard against this little girl. She was talented and had reached the Emperor realm at such a young age. But she was only a few years old and had a pure mind. She wouldn't hurt anyone. Those gem-like eyes were filled with innocence. How could they harm others? Luli looked at the little girl and asked with a smile, "Little Zishi, why are you still here?" "Big brother." Zishi smiled sweetly. There was a trace of desire in her eyes. "I lost some of my guards. I only have one left. I am scared. Can you take me with you?" Ah. Luli was surprised. This little girl made such a request. It was a bit abrupt and strange. Why did the little girl trust him so much? Also, she could ask. After all, Luli would be a burden if he took them with him. Luli couldn't even take care of himself. How could he help them? If the little girl was alone, it would be understandable. After all, Luli had saved her once. But it was strange that the little girl had a Saint King as her guard. Luli touched his nose and said, "Little Zishi, I am not capable enough. I can't take care of you even if you follow me. You should go to other powerful warriors for help." It was not that Luli wasn't kind. If it was something he could help, he wouldn't hesitate. This was a dangerous journey, and he did not want to carry 2 burdens. He was not a savior. Luli's refusal didn't make Zishi retreat. She wasn't even disappointed at all. She tilted her head and said, "Big brother, you are strong. I can feel it. Also, my abilities complement you. If we work together, it will be much safer." This, Luli was surprised again. The little girl didn't seem to be lying. She was serious, but a little girl pretending to be an adult. It was hard to avoid feeling awkward. Luli thought about it and asked, "What powerful skills does Zishi have? Why don't you show it to me?" "Big brother, you've seen it." Zishi blinked her eyes and said, "Big brother, don't you remember that beast roar?" "What?" Luli frowned in confusion. Then, his pupils contracted. A few days ago, he did hear a beast roar. It was the roar of a powerful immortal beast that made his blood tumble. After the immortal beast roared, it stopped and its chi and blood disappeared. At that time, Luli found it strange. Luli asked in disbelief, "That beast roar was made by you?" PFF. Zishi burst into laughter. Her eyes curved up as she said, "Big brother, you are so stupid. Zishi is not an immortal beast. That immortal beast was suppressed by Zishi." Luli was speechless. His instinct told him that this little girl was joking. How could this little girl suppress such a powerful immortal beast? If she could suppress it, then why would she need to work with him when she had such a powerful combat ability? However, looking at the pure eyes of the little girl, Luli felt that she was not lying. He paused for a moment and asked, "Does Zishi have a strange skill that can suppress immortal beasts?" "Yes." Zishi nodded seriously and said, "Zishi's race has a powerful skill that can suppress most immortal beasts and ferocious beasts. However, Zishi's skill cannot suppress powerful warriors. That is why I said that I and Big Brother are complementary. Big Brother, you have the miraculous art of hiding and powerful combat ability. But Zishi can suppress immortal beasts. Also, Zishi's perception is very good. When Big Brother is hiding, Zishi can feel it." "Oh." Li's body glowed. Then went into hiding and quietly went behind Zishi. Zishi turned around at once. Her gem-like eyes looked over and locked onto Li's eyes accurately. So miraculous. Li was secretly surprised. Then he moved again. Zishi could still find him easily. She looked at him with a smile all the time. Li thought for a moment and entered the Dharma realm. This time, Zishi was confused. She looked around blankly. After a while, she said, "Big brother, you are so good. I can't find you. Big brother, come out." Buzzing, the space twisted a bit. Li came out. He looked at Zishi with admiration and said, "Zishi, you are also good. You can see through my art of hiding. Okay, I believe in your ability. But I have one question. Why do you trust me so much? Aren't you afraid that I will harm you?" "No." Zishi liked to smile, and her smile was very sweet. She looked up at Li and said, "Zishi also has a strange ability. I can sense good and evil. If someone is evil or has evil intentions towards Zishi, I can tell at a glance." "Impressive." Li gave her a thumbs up and asked curiously, "What kind of race is Zishi? Are you a native race of the immortal region? And where are you going?" Zishi didn't hide anything. She explained, "Our race is called the Chinya race. My full name is Chinya Zishi. Our race is very rare. Big brother, you must have never heard of it. Zishi is not from the immortal region. I am from the Tianming galaxy. I'm going to the eastern region. Big brother, you are going there as well, right?" "Oh, I see." Li thought about it. He pointed to the Saint King behind her and said, "Is this your race as well?" "No." Zishi shook her head and said, "He is an escort I hired. If you are willing to take me with you, I will let him go." "Hired? You came to the immortal region alone?" Li's eyes widened. Seeing Zishi nod, he was speechless again. There were many strange things in the world. This little girl was too mysterious and magical. How could such a young girl dare to come to the immortal region alone? How'd she do it? It was a miracle that she was still alive. She was just a little girl, yet her family allowed her to come to the immortal region alone. What was she doing in the immortal region? And she clearly wanted to go to the eastern region. Could it be that she heard about the immortal region and came to the eastern region to play? One last question. If you can answer me, I will take you with me. Li thought about it and asked, "Why do you want to go to the eastern region?" The little girl didn't even think about it. She tilted her head and said, "I always hear a call in my dreams telling me to go to the eastern region to find a mountain. So, I really want to go and have a look." Third Sect Master. Chapter 33:53. Li hurried on his way again, but with the addition of a mysterious little girl. This little girl had magical abilities and was full of mysteries. She inexplicably trusted him and even dared to team up with him alone. The universe was full of wonders. Li had seen many strange races, and they all had strange skills. But this little girl was even more magical and mysterious than he had seen before. This little girl looked like she was only 4 or 5 years old. Not to mention that she had the combat strength of an emperor realm She dared to come to the celestial region at such a young age, and she actually had the key to enter the celestial region. How could her family be at ease? Besides, she had hired a few guards. Wasn't she afraid that those guards would kill her and rob her celestial stones? Or sell her? Why did she keep dreaming of this mountain? Was that mountain still calling her? And how did she know that this mountain was in the eastern region of the celestial region? What did a 4 or 5-year-old girl know? But this little girl could travel alone in the celestial region. This was a miracle. It was a miracle that she was still alive. Luli flew with this little girl. Because her speed was a bit slower, Luli could only fly with her. After flying for a few days, Luli saw her magical abilities. Her perceptive ability was amazing, not just average. It was 10 times better than Luli's when he used the trace of the Great Tao. Before Luli sensed it, she could accurately predict the existence of immortal beasts ahead. In order to prove her ability, Luli deliberately flew forward for a distance and sensed the existence of immortal beasts ahead. It seemed that Zishi really did have an aura that was especially sensitive to beasts. However, there was a problem. Since Zishi could avoid it in advance, why did she encounter that fairy beast earlier? Moreover, her perception was so abnormal. Why was she intercepted and killed before? Luli asked Zishi. She pouted and said, "Because someone had ill intentions towards me and wanted to capture me. It was the warriors in our warship. Therefore, I had no choice but to escape to the place with immortal beasts and scare away the bad guys with the help of immortal beasts." Luli nodded slightly and asked, "Are the bad guys still there? Are the bad guys at Mount Purple Peak still there?" "They didn't come to Mount Purple Peak." Zishi shook her head and said, "I don't know where they went." "All right." Luli didn't ask any more questions. He flew forward with Zishi. With Zishi here, Luli didn't have to search. He could just fly forward with her. That being said, Zishi would feel tired after every period of time. She asked Luli to put her into his interspatial artifact to rest. Zishi was really careless. She was sleeping soundly in Luli's interspatial artifact. Was she not afraid that Luli would sell her out? A little girl who was only a few years old didn't panic at all in a place like the immortal region. It was as if she had come out to play with her family. This made Luli exclaim in admiration. Luli was neither too fast nor too slow. In half a month, he had covered a distance that was 1/4 the distance of a battleship. That was to say, it would take Luli 4 times longer to get to the Cloud King city, and this was assuming there were no problems along the way. They didn't run into any danger during the half a month, though there were some powerful immortal beasts along the way. Either Zishi warned them in advance, or Luli sensed them and avoided them in advance. Luli didn't run into any warriors along the way. Though there were cities, or caves, or spiritual lands nearby, Luli didn't enter them. Usually, small cities and spiritual mountains were occupied by major forces. If he got too close, it would be easy for a chaotic battle to break out. Zishi didn't talk much. She didn't seem to be too curious about some of the strange landscapes in the immortal region. Along the way, she just silently observed the scenery around her. Every 2 to 4 hours, she would take out a mystical fruit and eat it. She didn't eat anything else but mystical fruits. Luli didn't watch her cultivate. He was either sleeping or silently observing the scenery around him. At certain moments, Luli had a strange feeling in his heart. Perhaps the soul of an old woman was hidden in Zishi's young body. Although her eyes looked pure and innocent, she was too calm and rational when it came to many things. This was not how a 4 or 5-year-old girl should behave. Even though he had some doubts, Luli didn't ask too much. At the moment, at least Zishi didn't have any evil intentions towards him. It would be hard for her to hurt him, right? The two of them could complement each other. Luli would fly with her to protect her, and she would help Luli avoid immortal beasts. "Brother Lu, there are warriors fighting up ahead. Let's go around them." After another 4 or 5 days, Zishi suddenly spoke. She looked very serious. Luli also sensed it because there was a space fluctuation over there. Even though they were far away, the space fluctuation here was already very obvious. Even at such a long distance, the fluctuation could still be felt. This meant that the battle over there was very intense. Moreover, It was a battle between super powerful warriors. Luli immediately took Zishi to the side. However, they weren't so lucky. In the distance, two black figures were flying towards them at high speed. The battlefield had changed. Let's go in. Luli put Zishi into his interspatial artifact and then immediately went into hiding. He went underground in a very low-key manner. He wanted to wait for the two powerful warriors to leave first. In the distance, two powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the absolute completion realm were fighting. Luli didn't even dare to use his psychic power. He hid in a ravine in a low-key manner. Originally, he thought that when the powerful warriors were fighting, they wouldn't care about a small fry like him. After all, he was only an Emperor Realm warrior on the surface. If he was distracted when two powerful warriors were fighting, it would be easy for something big to happen. However, something happened that made Luli so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. The powerful warrior who was chasing them suddenly looked at him. Then, he waved the saber in his hand, and a ray of sword light came down, toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. Even though it was just a casual move, Luli felt the power that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. It was as if the entire heaven and earth were affected the moment he waved the saber. He was suppressed by heaven and earth. He couldn't even breathe. He could not move at all. He could only watch as the saber came down. **T. Luli cursed to himself. At this moment of life and death, he couldn't conserve his strength. With an idea, he vanished on the spot and entered the realm of Dharma. Boom! As soon as he went in, the sword light whooshed over. The mountain where he was cut into a ravine so deep that the bottom could not be seen. The mountains nearby were shaking violently. Rocks were rolling, and animals were running away in fright. That powerful warrior was surprised. The other one in front of him stopped as well. Two strands of psychic power looked around. After a moment, the two looked at each other. Their eyes glowed. Lunatic Yuan, the powerful warrior who was attacking him, asked, "Did you feel it? Where's that bastard?" Lunatic Yuan shook his head and said, "He was not killed and he didn't run away. It doesn't seem like he used teleportation or anything like that. But somehow he just disappeared. How miraculous. Stop fighting. Let's find him." The powerful warrior who was attacking him said, with excitement, "If we can find him, maybe we can learn a freaky skill. This is weird. How can he disappear under our noses?" Third Master. Chapter 3354. The two powerful warriors were not really fighting just now. They were just learning from each other. That was why they noticed Li's attack. Otherwise, how could two powerful warriors be distracted in a fight? It was remarkable enough that an Emperor Realm warrior could survive Li's attack. The fact that Li could run away under their noses and disappear miraculously surprised the two powerful warriors. They were excited as well. If they could find Li, then they could learn this miraculous way of escaping. They began to search nearby. The search area was expanding and the nearby areas were bombarded indiscriminately. They searched for the time for one incense stick to burn, but still couldn't find Li. They decided to expand the search area to a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. They suspected that it was teleportation. They planned to spend a month to search carefully to see if they could find Li. Li didn't dare to move. He didn't even dare to use the mark of the Great Path to check. If the powerful warrior sensed it, he might be waiting nearby. Li couldn't leave even if he wanted to. He couldn't stay in the realm of Dharma forever. Days passed by. Half a month later, Li secretly used the mark of the Great Path to make sure that there were no warriors nearby. He didn't rush out. Instead, he tried to sense the surroundings. The surroundings were a mess. The two powerful warriors had blasted a scene of desolation. Li used psychic power into the interspatial artifact and asked Zishi to wait for a while. He didn't feel safe yet. If he went out now, he might be targeted by the old demons. What if the two old demons hadn't gone far? He waited for another half a month and tried to make sure that there were no powerful warriors outside. Then he came out and let Zishi out as well. He asked Zishi to check. The two powerful warriors are not far away. They are still nearby. Zishi tried to sense. Her pointy nose twitched, and she said seriously. She pointed to the way they came and said, "If you want to go, I suggest this way." "Then let's go." Luli didn't want to stay here any longer. Even if he wanted to go into the realm of Dharma, he must find another place. Otherwise, it would still be unsafe. He left with Zishi quickly. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, he put Zishi into the interspatial artifact and then went back into the realm of Dharma. Similarly, he stayed in the law realm for half a month. After confirming that it was safe, he came out and continued to flee with Zishi. This time it was very smooth. He took a long detour and traveled stealthily for more than half a month. He and Zishi were only relieved when they were hundreds of millions of miles away from that place. After resting for 2 days, Lu Li and Bai Xiaoshuang moved on. They ran into ferocious beasts and warriors every now and then. Zishi's strange ability could detect it in advance, so there was no need to pay attention to immortal beasts. Usually, if there were martial artists nearby, they would be able to sense it in advance. The southern region was relatively safer. Lu Li and Zishi had more daunting experiences than dangerous ones. They had spent many nights together, and they were quite lucky. None of them had a nightmare. That being said, Lu Li and Zishi's senses were very strong. If there were nightmares, they could find them at once and run away. There's a large-scale battle ahead. After traveling for another half a month, Zishi suddenly spoke. Lu Li stopped sensing at once. Sure enough, the space and spiritual qi were fluctuating strangely. He put Zishi into his interspatial ring and went into stealth mode. Then, he quietly went to the left. This time, he was not so lucky. As soon as he went to the left, many teams of warriors whizzed over. At first, he thought the warriors were coming for him, but he sensed and found that the warriors were fleeing in disorder. Clearly, the two forces were fighting, and one side was defeated. Now, he had two choices. The first was to run away with the main force. In this way, he would be inconspicuous and would have a higher chance of escaping. The second was to go directly into the law realm. In this way, nobody would find him. After thinking about it for the time, for one breath, Lu Li finally decided to run away with the main force. There were powerful warriors coming from behind. In the next second, the powerful warrior's psychic power would scan over. If Lu Li were to enter the law realm, he might attract the attention of the powerful warriors. There were hundreds of thousands of fleeing warriors. Lu Li could follow them easily by disguising himself. Then he could go around them. He was stealthy at the moment. When the main force arrived, Lu Li used skill of transfiguration to disguise himself as the one with the most races. Then, he ran away with the main force quietly. It was a mess at the moment. Warriors were flying everywhere. Nobody would mind that Lu Li was in the mix. Lu Li controlled his speed and lowered his realm to the peak of the Great Emperor realm so that he could follow the main force at a moderate speed. Boom, 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 the main force was catching up. But Lu Li was at the front. There were hundreds of thousands of warriors behind him. By the time the main force killed the hundreds of thousands of warriors, the warriors would be long gone. Charge! Lu Li had just run for hundreds of thousands of miles when he saw battleships coming from the left, followed by teams of warriors. There was an army in front of him, and there were two warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. Charge! The fleeing warriors had made up their minds. They were blocked in front of them and were being chased from behind. There was no way for them to run. The only way to survive was to fight with their lives and break out of the encirclement. Led by a group of Saint Emperors, they charged forward. Lu Li was frustrated. He did not know what to do. He could only pretend to follow the army and charge over. However, he controlled his speed and waited for the two armies to collide before he quietly slipped away. "Bastard, you want to run?" A Saint Emperor noticed Lu Li. He whooshed over and stabbed at Lu Li with a heavy awl. Lu Li's eyes glowed. He released a formation. That Saint Emperor was only at the initial stage of the Saint Emperor. Lu Li sealed off his soul at once. Lu Li took out a rod and smashed the Saint Emperor away. Lu Li kept on running. That Saint Emperor came to his senses after he was smashed away. He felt his face was stinging with blood. The Saint Emperor flew into a rage and chased after Lu Li. Lu Li stopped attacking. He sped up and sped up. That Saint Emperor was hot on his heels. There was a powerful warrior on a battleship in the distance. He used psychic power to check Lu Li's direction and became cautious. Lu Li was fast after he sped up. In the time for a few breaths, he had covered dozens of thousands of miles. That Saint Emperor was surprised. How come Lu Li was getting faster? How could an Emperor Realm warrior be so fast, even if he used his skill? Soon, Lu Li had covered hundreds of thousands of miles. That Saint Emperor was still chasing after him. Lu Li was losing his patience. He stopped, looked at that Saint Emperor, and said, "I will give you one chance. Go back or die." Ha ha ha. That Saint Emperor laughed. But he had only laughed for a while when Lu Li released a formation. He dashed over and smashed at the Saint Emperor with the rod in his hand with all his strength. Boom! Blood sprayed everywhere. The Saint Emperor's head was crushed. Lu Li took away the interspatial ring and left. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3360, still trying to run? Page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 3355. They successfully escaped from the battlefield. Lu Li and Zishi kept moving forward. For the next 3 months, their luck was good. They didn't encounter too many twists and turns on their way. They had a long way to go. It had been almost half a year since they left the Purple Mountain. Lu Li found something surprising. Zishi didn't grow taller. Theoretically speaking, she had been eating mystical fruits every day. She should be 4 or 5 years old now, which should be the golden age for her grow. Back then, Enlure had been growing like crazy. She felt different every month. However, Zishi was still the same. Her body didn't change at all. She didn't grow 1 inch. When they were resting in a hill, Lu Li couldn't help but ask, "Zishi, why don't you grow taller?" "Not." Zishi shook her head and said, "Apart from 2 situations, our race will always look like this until death. Brother Lu, you may have some misunderstanding about me. Actually, I am more than 20 years old now." Lu Li was startled. Many of the doubts that he couldn't figure out before were now cleared up. Why did a little girl who was only a few years old dare to come to the immortal domain? Why did she look so sensible? How did she treat people? She seemed like an adult. She was just physically young, but mentally, she was already an adult. Zishi looked at Lu Li with a smile and said, "Brother Lu, even though I am more than 20 years old, I am still a child. Brother Lu, you must protect and love me." Lu Li curled his lips, feeling a bit awkward. An adult acting cute like a child. If he didn't know, it would be fine. But if he did, it wouldn't be natural. Sometimes, when Lu Li was escaping, he would carry her. Zishi said she was more than 20 years old. Well, she was lying. Her race had always looked like this. Even if they were tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years old, they would still look like this. What if Zishi was an old, which that was tens of thousands of years old? Thinking about this, Lu Li felt even more awkward. He didn't say anything. He just nodded slightly and said, "I will try my best. As long as I am alive, I will not let anyone hurt you." "Thank you, Brother Lu." Zishi smiled sweetly. She looked very cute and adorable. Unfortunately, knowing that she was more than 20 years old, Lu Li felt awkward no matter what. Lu Li remembered what Zishi said and asked curiously, "You just said there were 2 situations? Could it be that when you encounter those 2 situations, your appearance will change?" "Yes." Zishi thought about it and said, "This is our race's secret. I hope you won't tell anyone else. The first situation is when our souls are extremely weak. Our bodies will grow quickly and we will look like adults. The other is that when I die, my physical body disappears and turns into ashes." Zishi said. Lu Li was amazed. The Chinya race was really strange and unheard of. If Zishi did not say it herself, and he heard about the situation of the Chinya race, he would not have believed it so easily. As they continued walking, the journey was relatively peaceful. Occasionally, they would run into ferocious beasts and martial artists. However, Zishi's strange magic power and Lu Li's art of concealment allowed them to easily avoid it. Lu and Li and Shiha, they were not far. Yun, the Lu and there and they and there they and they were, and the journey and were, and was and were, and the was, and in the Cloud King City was only halfway there. There was still a long way to go from the Cloud King City to the Mystic Armor City. The situation there was more complicated. The eastern region had the most Asmodeans. Of the 9 regions, the chaos at the eastern region was the top 3. Let's go to the Cloud King City first, and see if there is a way to get to the Mystic Armor City directly. Lu Li made up his mind. While he was thinking, Zishi suddenly said, "Brother Lu, there is a battleship coming from behind." Lu Li flew down at once and went into hiding. Soon, a battleship came from the left and whizzed past Lu Li. It didn't stop. Some psychic power scanned over, but they were only from average Saint Kings. Naturally, they couldn't find Lu Li. Lu Li waited for a while, and the battleship left. But before long, Zishi warned him again that there was another battleship coming. Lu Li had to hide again. In the next 10 to 10 hours, Lu Li changed his route several times. But during this time, dozens of battleships passed by. There were hundreds of warriors on each battleship, and many of them were Saint Kings. Something must be going on up ahead. Lu Li felt something was off. He was the only one that saw so many battleships. There must be more in other directions. That meant that there must be at least hundreds of battleships and tens of thousands of warriors heading in that direction. Also, those warriors were clearly not average warriors. They seemed to be the young generation of different races. Is there a land of treasure up ahead? Lu Li wondered. He didn't want to join the fun at all. But the battleship was heading to the east. He couldn't go around it even if he wanted to. He couldn't fly hundreds of millions of miles to the north and then go to the east. He had to keep a low profile and fly to the east. On his way, he would run into more battleships and some powerful warriors. Their destination was the east. After a day of traveling, Lu Li found a small city up ahead. He checked from the distance. The city was bustling with activity. Warriors were coming in and out. There were more battleships coming to the city, and then hundreds of warriors would fly down and enter the city. There were also passing warriors that flew over and entered the city directly. Lu Li thought about it and decided to go to the small city to have a look. He wanted to see what was going on around here so that he could be on his way. If there was any danger, he could run away in advance. It was easy to get into the city. Lu Li and Zishi only had to spend tens of millions of celestial stones to get into the city. Lu Li found a tavern for Zishi to stay in, and then he went out to gather some information. Half a day later, Lu Li came back. He looked awful. Seeing this, Zishi asked in a hurry, "What is it? Is something wrong?" "Not really." Lu Li shook his head and said, "It is said that there is a rare immortal beast up ahead. It is an injured one, the flying cloud beast. It is said that the beast core of the flying cloud beast contains the Tao of nature. Once you get it, you can learn a skill. Therefore, powerful warriors of nearby forces have been alerted. An area with a radius of hundreds of millions of miles is blocked off. We will have to take a long detour if we want to go there." "Flying cloud beast?" Zishi's jewel-like eyes glowed. She said, "It is not a skill. It can increase the power of one of your skills by several times. Also, there is a soul crystal in the soul of the flying cloud beast, which is a great supplement to the soul. The blood of the flying cloud beast can also refine the body. Every part of the immortal beast is a treasure. Increase the power of skills by several times?" Lu Li was shocked. There was such an amazing ability. For example, the power of his dragon transformation could be increased by several times? He asked in disbelief, "All the skills? Is it permanent? If it is permanent, then even powerful warriors at the consummate realm will go crazy." "Of course it is permanent, but the higher the realm, the weaker the power. Therefore, it is not meaningful to powerful warriors who are infinitely close to the consummate realm." Zishi explained. Then she added, "Of course, this is the information I got in the Dongling city. I'm not sure if it is accurate or not." "What? Brother Lu, do you want this immortal beast? If you want it, I can help you." As long as I can find this immortal beast, I can suppress it easily. P.S. 4 chapters, one more chapter. Third Master. Chapter 3356. Of course, Luli wanted the immortal beast, but he knew that greed could lead a man to his death. All the young warriors of the nearby forces were here. There were tens of millions of warriors and hundreds of powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm. The powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm might not make a move. There seemed to be an agreement among the races that the young warriors would fight for it, the Saint Kings would fight for it, and the most powerful warriors would not do anything. But once Luli got it, all the races and forces would be united against a common enemy. They would besiege Luli like crazy. Therefore, after some consideration, Luli decided to take a detour instead of going through the center. It was too dangerous. The young masters and young ladies of the big families would have powerful warriors with them. Luli rested in the city for a day and then flew to the north quietly. He chose to take a detour of hundreds of millions of miles. It would take him a month or two more, but Luli didn't mind. It didn't matter if he got there earlier or later. The war over at Lu Xiaobai's side would not end so soon. The descendants of the king of the eastern region would not die so easily. Going to the north, Luli ran into many battleships along the way. Those battleships all went in a straight line without stopping. Every time, Luli would hide in a low-key manner. None of the warriors noticed him. Even if some powerful warriors did notice him, they didn't bother him. It was a smooth journey. After half a month, there were no more battleships. Luli sped up and flew to the east. There were no more warriors here. Luli and Zishi moved forward easily. Luli was disguised as an old man, and Zishi was in her original appearance. It looked like an old man with his granddaughter. There are mortal beasts up ahead, and more than one. On this day, Zishi suddenly called out. Luli quickly went into stealth, and then quickly went to the side. But as soon as he went around, several gusts of evil wind came. Then 3 huge insects rushed over. Before they got close, Luli could smell the stench and the horrifying chi and blood. Woo-woo, the 3 immortal beasts roared, shaking the mountains and forests. Luli's ears hurt. When Luli was about to enter the Dharma realm, Zishi waved her hand and said, "Brother Lu, let me do it." Zishi walked to the front and opened her arms. Then, her body lit up with green light. Her eyes also lit up with green light. The green light spread out like ripples and spread to where the 3 big worms were. Something very wondrous happened. The 3 late Saint Kings actually stopped moving and began to tremble, as if they had seen the King of Beasts. Luli was secretly surprised. Just now, he had been activating the trace of the Great Path. He saw that Zishi didn't do anything. She just released a strange energy. The energy permeated into the bodies of the 3 bugs. Then, the 3 bugs stopped moving. How magical! Luli had an idea and asked, "Zishi, can you control the 3 worms?" "No." Zishi shook her head and said, "I can only suppress them. I can't control them. If I could control them, I would be able to sweep across the celestial region." "That's true." Luli nodded slightly. If Zishi could control all the celestial beasts, then he wouldn't be needed at all. She could bring a group of celestial beasts and go wherever she wanted. She could wipe out most forces. "Let's go." Luli left with Zishi. They ran into celestial beasts again after traveling for thousands of miles. This time, they could avoid them easily. Just like that, they traveled for 5 or 6 days without running into any danger. They did run into some warriors, but Zishi sensed them in advance, and Luli took a detour. Something is wrong. On the 8th day, Luli realized something was wrong. There were more warriors here. In just half a day, he ran into 5 teams of warriors. Each team had more than a dozen warriors, and many of them were Saint Kings. Even though there were no powerful warriors that were infinitely close to the consummate realm, there must be something wrong with so many warriors all of a sudden. In the next 3 days, Luli felt the problem was getting more and more serious. During these 3 days, he ran into at least thousands of warriors. Those warriors wandered around, clearly searching for something. Could it be that the soaring beast has escaped here? Luli had this thought in his mind. If this was really the case, he didn't know if he should say it out loud. He took such a long detour and went through so much trouble to get here. How did the soaring beast come here? The further he went, the more likely Luli was to be right. He ran into more and more warriors. Battleships were flying back and forth in the sky. Countless psychic power was scanning around. Is the soaring beast small? Is it good at hiding? Luli asked Zishi. He didn't have this information before, because many warriors had never seen the soaring beast. Zishi nodded and said, "Yes, the soaring beast has a strange ability. It can hide continuously, and it is very powerful. The soaring beast is small as well, only the size of fist." The size of a fist? Luli touched his nose. How could such a powerful immortal beast be so small? The more powerful one was, the bigger one would be. He voiced out his doubts. Zishi thought about it and said, "I don't think so. I heard that the king of the eastern region is a super powerful immortal beast, comparable to a warrior at the consummate realm. The king of the eastern region is small as well, only the size of a head." A little white's body appeared in Luli's mind. It was the same for Little White. It never grew big. At its biggest, it was only the size of a fist. It was more likely that Little White was Lu Xiaobai. Let's go. Moving on, Luli was relieved to find that many psychic powers didn't linger on them even when they passed by. There were too many warriors nearby. Nobody would pay attention to an average old man and a little girl. They were here to find the immortal beast, not to make trouble. The soaring beast was injured. Whoever found it first would be rich. The further they went, the more warriors there were. Luli disguised his realm to the initial stage of Saint King realm and swaggered on with Zishi. A powerful warrior at the initial stage of Saint King realm brought his little granddaughter to train. It was a harmonious scene that would not attract attention. There were too many warriors nearby. Nobody would pay attention. Everyone was in a hurry to find the immortal beast. Who would pay attention to Luli? After 4 or 5 days, Luli met tens of thousands of warriors. The mountains and plains were filled with warriors. He also found some powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. These powerful warriors were very secretive. They were secretly tailing some young masters and young ladies. Luli also saw many young warriors of the major families and forces. There were many at the later stage of Saint King realm. In the immortal region, Saint Kings were not valuable. They were everywhere. There were also many powerful warriors infinitely close to the consummate realm. There must be many warriors at the consummate realm as well. There seems to be a wretched land ahead. After another 7 or 8 days, Luli looked at the map and frowned. There was a wretched land ahead. It was not particularly dangerous, but it was a wretched land after all. Under normal circumstances, he should go around it. Never mind. Thinking of the warriors ahead, Luli made up his mind and walked on. With so many powerful warriors, they could even flatten a wretched land, let alone a wretched land. Chapter 33:57. The land of disaster was famous around here because it covered a large area. Many things had happened here as well. The land of disaster was filled with toxins and mazes. Often, warriors would go in by mistake and disappear. More than 500 years ago, 3 forces worked together and mobilized many powerful warriors and armies to explore the land of disaster. More than 100,000 warriors and powerful warriors went in, but only less than half of them came out. Most of the warriors died of toxins. The mazes were so strong that even Saint Kings at the later stage of the land of disaster would be confused and could not find their way. It was said that the mazes were naturally formed and difficult to destroy. They could recover automatically after they were destroyed. More importantly, in some areas, one could feel the source of life was slipping away. Warriors in those areas would age quickly. If they did not leave soon, they would die of old age. That was why this place was called the Land of Disaster. Few warriors went into the Land of Disaster. There were no top-level elixirs or anything like that. Besides, there were many powerful immortal beasts. What are they going to do in there? Were they looking for trouble? This time, Many warriors went in without any hesitation. It was confirmed that the soaring cloud beast had entered the land of disaster. They had been hunting it for such a long time. Most of the young masters and young ladies were here to gain experience. How could they back off in the face of difficulties? This time, there were at least hundreds of powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm and more than 1,000,000 warriors. The young masters and young ladies would not back off. The more dangerous a place was, the more excited they would be. Many warriors gathered together. This time, they did not act rashly. Powerful warriors of different forces and races gathered together and marched in teams. When Luli walked in, he could see teams of warriors walking in and destroying everything along the way. They were prepared to flatten the land of disaster and turn it into a wasteland. They wanted to destroy all the poisonous miasma, illusory arrays, and bewildering arrays. They wanted to see where the soaring cloud beast could escape to. Therefore, as soon as Luli entered the disaster land, he heard noises of explosions coming from all directions. Warriors were attacking everywhere. Forests were blown up, mountains were leveled, and swamps were filled up. Anyways, wherever the warriors went, everything would be turned into a desert. Nothing would be left behind. This place is very strange. As soon as Luli came in, he sensed something was off. Ever since he entered the wretched land, he had a chilly feeling as if there were ghosts floating around. "Brother Lu, Zishi is so scared. Brother, hug me." Zishi grabbed Lu Li's hand. There's a trace of panic on her face. If Luli didn't know that she had the mind of an adult, he would have been charmed by her cute expression. He curled his lips and said, "Speak normally. Don't pretend to be a 4 or 5-year-old child all day long. Aren't you tired?" "I'm not tired." Zishi raised her head and said seriously, "Zishi has always been like this. What did it have to do with age? Brother Lu doesn't like Zishi anymore?" Luli was speechless. He didn't want to say more. He said, "How about you go into my interspatial artifact? I feel that this place is very strange." "It's not very strange. It's quite strange." This time, Zishi said with a straight face, "The destroyed place is recovering slowly. If it were not for the fact that a powerful warrior had carved a seal of laws here, then the natural formation here must be freaky. Brother Lu, I think we should leave. I feel uneasy." "Yes, I think so as well." Luli nodded and then walked out with Zishi. More warriors came in. They didn't feel it was strange to see Luli and Zishi leaving. After all, Zishi was too young. Something is wrong. After a while, Luli realized that he hadn't made it out of the wretched land. His mind was weighed down. He didn't go far in. Theoretically speaking, he should have made out by now. This place is not a natural formation, but one built by a powerful warrior. Now, the formation is activated. Luli thought about it and said in a serious voice, "I feel there is a conspiracy. Maybe the flying beasts are part of it. There is a powerful warrior in the wretched land who wants to kill the 1,000,000 warriors. 500 years ago, several forces worked together to attack the wretched land. Later, half of the warriors retreated, which meant that it was possible to leave the wretched land. Also, this place was not a perilous place, just a normal one. If one could not leave after coming in, then how could it be a normal one? Blood Fairy. Luli let Blood Fairy out. He didn't leave. He waited for Blood Fairy to find out. Zishi stared at the ground with her jewel-like eyes. She clicked her tongue in wonder and said, "Brother Lu, this goblin of yours looks strong. I think it must have a profound understanding of divine inscriptions." "You can tell that." Luli was surprised. Zishi nodded and said, "This goblin of yours is filled with the presence of laws and marks of Tao, but it does not have any abilities. You let it out. Needless to say, you're using it to crack the formation." Luli gave her a thumbs up and said nothing else. He waited for Blood Fairy to find out. More warriors came in, but Luli didn't warn them. Since they were already here, there was no point in reminding them. What is the conspiracy? It is pointless to kill the 1,000,000 warriors, isn't it? What is more, there must be over 100 warriors who are almost at the absolute realm. Are you sure you can kill them all? Luli cannot figure it out. He did not know about the major families and forces nearby. He could not tell. He had to wait for Blood Fairy to find out. There were still sounds of explosions coming from up ahead. Luli could also see that the destroyed terrain was recovering. The destroyed trees were growing again. It was extremely strange. After an hour, Blood Fairy came back. She said, "Master, this place is strange. This is not an average formation. It is a super formation formed by dozens of powerful divine inscriptions. To crack it is difficult. It will take at least hundreds of years." Hundreds of years? Luli was shocked. Blood Fairy's ability to crack formations was incredible. It was said that it would take her hundreds of years? Just how perverted was this divine formation? Luli thought about it and asked a critical question. Are the divine inscriptions here formed naturally, or are they set up by powerful warriors? Yes, Blood Fairy said with certainty. There are some natural divine inscriptions here, but many are set up by powerful warriors as well. But the design is ingenious. There is no trace of it, and it is combined with natural divine inscriptions. Therefore, it looks like a natural formation. I have seen through it. The warrior who set up the divine inscriptions is very powerful. His understanding of divine inscriptions is hundreds of times better than mine. I cannot destroy the divine inscriptions. Even if I can create an opening for you to escape, it will take hundreds of years. No. Luli's heart was weighed down. A powerful warrior who was so accomplished in divine inscriptions had set up a trap. Unless a warrior at the absolute realm came, there was no way to break it. Everyone would be trapped. Chapter 33:58. Luli could not afford to wait for hundreds of years. He had to wait for the situation to change and for the powerful warriors inside to crack the formation. This time, there were more than 100 powerful warriors and 1 million warriors. How many Saint Kings were there? What if there were some with special abilities? Luli didn't move. He just sat there and waited. He knew that something must have gone wrong in the depth of the land of disaster. A large number of warriors might have died already. If he went to the center now, he might perish along with them. More warriors came in. They didn't mind Luli sitting here. They flew in quickly, fearing that the soaring beasts would be taken away if they were too slow. Luli shook his head as he watched them rushing in. Were they in a hurry to court death? 3 days later, not many warriors came in. Luli believed that at least 2 million warriors had come in. He was not sure how many warriors were close to the consummate realm. After all, those powerful warriors were hiding, and it was hard to find them. There were still sounds of explosions. They must be tens of thousands of miles away from here. They had advanced for tens of thousands of miles and destroyed many mountains, forests, and swamps. Many of the places that they had destroyed had been restored. The terrain around Luli had been restored, and the trees that had been destroyed had all grown back. Luli still didn't move. He wanted to let it be for a while and wait for the situation to change. The situation inside was a bit messy. There were indeed 2 million warriors. All the forces in an area with a radius of hundreds of millions of miles had sent their armies and warriors over. For one thing, they wanted to surround the soaring beasts. For another, they wanted the young warriors of different forces to come and have some experience. Most importantly, the young master of a large clan had come. This large clan was the strongest clan in the area, and it was an overlord class faction. This young master was talented as well. He was only half a step away from the perfect perfection realm. It was highly likely that he would become a family patriarch in the future. This young master was also a person that the families and forces nearby were trying to befriend. Recently, this family had been looking for pretty girls as well. Therefore, this mission was also a way to socialize and meet people. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many families and forces coming. When young masters and young ladies came, they would have to show off and protect them. That was why so many warriors and warriors had come. With so many soldiers and experts squeezed into the wretched land, it was inevitable that chaos would occur, especially with the illusory and bewildering arrays, as well as the sudden appearance of poisonous gas. Many of the warriors inside had already been poisoned. The poisonous gas here was very terrifying. It suddenly emerged from the ground and enveloped the surrounding area. All the warriors inside would be poisoned. The symptoms of the poisoned cultivators were not particularly severe. They would only feel weak all over, unable to gather source energy, and their souls would be especially weak. Even moving would be difficult. There wasn't much of a problem on the surface, but his internal organs were slowly rotting, and his soul seemed to be slowly weakening. Fortunately, the poison here was not uncontrollable. As long as there were top-notch pills, it could be temporarily suppressed. However, they had yet to find a way to completely remove the poison. Those soldiers had refined all kinds of divine medicines, but they still could not find a way to cure the poison. The poison here was also like this in the past. It was almost impossible to detoxify. Of the half of the martial artists who went out, a small half were poisoned. A portion of the poisoned martial artists had died, and the remaining portion had used top-notch divine medicines to completely detoxify the poison. The various races and factions would not be so generous to use top-notch divine medicines for an ordinary soldier. Fortunately, this poison was not so easy to kill. These soldiers could still live for a few more decades. If they met a divine physician from the medical sect, they might have a chance to detoxify the poison. These soldiers were not very clear about this poison. The matter back then had been sealed. Only the upper echelons of the various factions and some old demons knew about it. They thought that the poison was not strong and was easily suppressed now. Hence, they did not pay much attention to it. Those young masters and young ladies were even less concerned. They all had top-notch divine medicines. As for the life and death of the ordinary soldiers, they completely disregarded the fact that the immortal domain did not lack ordinary soldiers the least. In the middle of the army was a group of formidable martial artists. They were true, formidable martial artists. They were all extremely close to the consummation stage, and there were more than 30 of them. In the middle of this group of formidable martial artists were 8 young men and women. Among these 8 young men and women, it was obvious that the leader was a handsome young master wearing a golden robe. No matter which martial artist it was, as long as their divine senses swept over, they would subconsciously stop their attention on him. It was as if he was the center of the whole world. He did not release his aura, but there was a formless aura in his body that would make all the nearby living beings focus on him. It was as if there was a Buddha light behind him. It was hard not to pay attention to him. This young master's temperament was very special. He was like a consecrated treasure sword, radiating with light and unparalleled sharpness. There were 4 young ladies at the side, and they were all looking at this young master with admiration. This young master's facial features were very well defined. It was as if they were carved by knives and axes. There was a vertical eye in the middle of his eyebrows. However, it was closed at the moment. He was looking into the depths of his eyes. Things are a little troublesome. He pondered for a moment and said, "This place is not as simple as we think. I can smell a hidden aura. The formation here is obviously a few hundred times stronger than it was a few hundred years ago. It was set up by a formidable martial artist. The cloud-soaring beast is also a part of the conspiracy." Wow! As soon as this young master finished his words, there was an immediate uproar. Even many experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm were shocked. They did not feel anything wrong. How could this young master be so sure? "Young Master Duan," a young lady at the side asked, "Are you serious? I don't think there is anything wrong." Young Master Duan glanced at this beautiful young lady and said expressionlessly, "Is there a need for me to joke at a time like this? You guys can't see the problem because you don't have the ability. Just wait and see. There will be news soon." Young Master Duan had already sent a few formidable martial artists to investigate. There should be news coming back soon. The surrounding troops continued to attack, destroying the small mountains and forests in the vicinity. Half a day later, 2 formidable martial artists flew over. They were both covered in wounds. One of them had no flesh on his back. His bones could even be seen. When they flew over, there was an uproar. The nearby troops all stopped and looked over. Young clan head, after the 2 martial artists flew over, just when they wanted to say something, young Master Duan waved his hand. He released a light barrier and enveloped the two martial artists. Then he asked with a serious expression, "Where are the other three?" "They are all dead." The two late-stage Saint Emperors smiled bitterly and said, "There are aboriginals here. Many aboriginals and many formidable martial artists. There are three large aboriginal clans here. They are the remnants of the aboriginals who escaped 200,000 years ago. The deepest part of this place is connected to a few small worlds. Those aboriginals are hiding in those small worlds." 200,000 years ago, the nearby martial artists' hearts sank. 200,000 years ago, the nearby major forces did encircle and annihilate the three large aboriginal clans. That battle was extremely tragic. Countless martial artists died. The strength of the three large aboriginal clans had also spread across the entire immortal region. They originally thought that the three large aboriginal clans had already perished. Unexpectedly, they were hiding in the wretched land. Could it be that this was a conspiracy of the three large aboriginal clans to trap and kill them? Chapter 3359. The immortal realm was originally the same as the 9 major star fields, just a super big realm. There were indigenous people here, just like the desolate race of Infinite Region. The immortal realm was one of the biggest treasures in the world, and the indigenous people here were naturally very strong. There were many powerful races here, and they were very powerful. The big races here had once fought their way into the 4th and 5th heavens, fighting for supremacy there, and shocked the whole world. When the worlds above the 4th heaven collapsed, the big races and experts who were not dead came down and scattered in the uncollapsed realms. Back then, there were countless Saint Emperors in the Middle King realms, and that was also the era when the Middle King realms were at their strongest. When the experts and big races came down, they naturally had to choose good realms. The immortal realm was undoubtedly the biggest treasures, so it became the center where all the big races and experts gathered. Countless big races and experts killed their way in, and the immortal realm became the darkest era in history. Countless experts had fallen, and innumerable great clans had been annihilated. Every piece of territory would be plunged into chaos, and often the other great clans and experts who had just taken over the territory would attack again. The indigenous people of the immortal realm were undoubtedly the most tragic. This was their home, and they had lived here for generations, reproducing and growing here. This was the blessed land of Spirit Mountain, and all the resources here belonged to them. But when the experts and big races of the 4th heaven and above came down, everything here did not belong to them. Of the 9 realm kings, only one was the leader of a big local race, and the other realm kings were all from outside. Even the king of the east, that powerful immortal beast, was from outside. What could they do when the enemy invaded? They could either give up their territory, surrender, or perish. Just like the Middle King realms, when the demon abyss invaded, they would definitely unite against a common enemy, and all the experts would unite to resist the enemy. Unfortunately, even though the big races of the immortal realm united, there were too many experts and big races of the 4th heaven and above, and they could not resist at all. Originally, the immortal realm had tens of thousands of big races and hundreds of billions of people. After hundreds of years of war, there were only a few hundred of the big races left and only a few billion people left. The remaining big races all went into hiding in dangerous places, or left the immortal realm and went far away. Only the strongest clan had always stood in the northernmost area. There were a few big clans in the vicinity. Originally, these big clans had already been weakened. They had all left their homes and hid in some of the great desolate lands. However, 200,000 years later, the 3 great clans came back to take back their ancestral land. That battle was extremely tragic. Young Master Duan's clan rose to power in that battle. They occupied a main city here and became the ruler of this area. Originally, they thought that the 3 clans had been annihilated, but they didn't expect that there were still survivors of the 3 clans hidden in the wretched land. This caused all the experts to smell the scent of a conspiracy. All the experts felt that they had fallen into a trap. Retreat. Young Master Duan waved his hand decisively. Whether there was a conspiracy or not, it was better to retreat first. In any case, now that he had found the remnants of the 3 clans, he just had to report it to his superiors. Once the major powers in the vicinity banded together, they would be able to easily wipe them out. Young Master Duan was the leader. Once he gave the order, the group immediately retreated. Even though many warriors were unwilling to give up and wanted to find the soaring cloud beast, young Master Duan was the main force. As soon as they retreated, the others felt something was wrong and panicked. The group flew out quickly. Soon, there were troops and powerful warriors flying over from Lu Li's side. Some powerful warriors used psychic power to check Lu Li, but they didn't pay much attention. There were too many warriors here. Lu Li disguised his realm as the initial stage of the Saint Realm, which was not eye-catching at all. As for Zishi, Lu Li put her away. Lu Li was afraid that her identity as a member of the Qinya clan would be seen through. Seeing so many warriors flying to the west, Lu Li curled his lips. These warriors wanted to go out? In their dreams. Lu Li stood on the side and waited. He wanted to see how these 1,000,000 warriors were going to get out. As Lu Li had expected, countless warriors whizzed out and soon came back. When they saw that they had come back, they were all astonished. By the time that group of utmost powerful beings flew out and returned, all of them had dumbfounded looks on their faces as well. That was because they had flown back as well. The group of young masters and young ladies were shocked. Even powerful warriors that were infinitely close to the consummate realm were trapped. Then they would be in big trouble. If this was a conspiracy, then it would be a big problem. All the warriors could die here. Young Master Duan looked awful as well. This time, it was more obvious that there was a conspiracy. The more young Master Duan thought about the cause of this, the more he felt something was wrong. This time, almost all the forces nearby received the news that there was an injured flying cloud beast. Some were far away from those forces, and some were close. Even if there were warriors spreading the news, it would be impossible for them to receive the news at the same time. Also, who injured the flying cloud beast? The flying cloud beast was not something that average warriors could hurt. If it was a powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm, then why did he have to wait for others to come? That powerful warrior should have killed the flying cloud beast by now. Also, the flying cloud beast came and went like a ghost when so many powerful warriors were besieging them. It lured them all the way to the land of disaster. The land of disaster was not so strong before. 500 years ago, many warriors managed to escape. Now, not even the most powerful warrior could get out. Nobody would believe that there was nothing fishy going on here. There is fog. This is not fog. This is poison. Be careful. The poison is strong. Take some antidote pellets first. Many people shouted in alarm. All the powerful warriors used psychic power to check the depth of the land of disaster. There was a thick fog in the depth. It was dark yellow. Clearly, it was poison. Here it comes. All the powerful warriors' hearts were weighed down. The enemies were playing dirty tricks again. The poisonous fog was so thick and turbulent that there was almost no way to avoid it. The most powerful warriors could fight it off, but what about the average warriors? There is a conspiracy. Lu Li breathed in relief. He was wrong this time. He never intended to kill the soaring cloud beasts. Somehow, he ended up in this damned place and got himself into trouble. Calm down. Let's observe the situation first. Lu Li quietly retreated to a corner. There were so many warriors and forces here. They would ask for help, right? There must be a warrior at the consummate realm among so many forces, right? When a warrior at the consummate realm came, the formation could be cracked. Duan Yong, go and take command. Tell everyone to stay calm and think of ways to defend against the poisonous fog. Young Master Duan said, I will contact my forefather and ask him to come over. If he comes, we will be able to overcome any tricks. Young Master Duan's words cheered up the warriors and warriors. Young Master Duan's forefather was a warrior at the consummate realm, the most powerful warrior nearby. As long as he could come, then everything would be easy. Young Master Duan took out a token and poured in some origin energy. The token glowed but soon dimmed down. He made up his mind and crushed the token. But when he sensed it, he was shocked. He shouted, "No, there is a powerful spatial formation here. We cannot contact the outside world at all." P.S. Chapter 4 continue. Chapter 3360. The entire land of disaster was enveloped by a powerful formation. The space here was isolated from the space outside. It was like a small world of its own. Some information could not be sent out. Of course, with so many powerful warriors and armies in a land of disaster, if there was no information coming out for a long time, the outside world would get suspicious. Even if the outside world were suspicious, they would send in scouts first. The scouts would not be able to come out after they went in. Then the second batch of scouts would come in after a few rounds of this. It would be several months later. If something serious were to happen in there, by the time the major forces found out, there would be nothing left but dead bodies. Young Master Duan and the others did not panic. This time, there were many powerful warriors who were close to the absolute perfection realm. Even if there were many survivors of the three indigenous forces, it would not be easy to kill them all. The poisonous fog had already spread over. Over there, groups of soldiers had already gathered together. The supreme experts had also split up, each of them holding up a protective barrier, enveloping the groups of soldiers within it. Average warriors could not withstand the toxic fog. Not even detoxification pellets or elixirs could help. There were over 100 powerful warriors who were very close to the absolute perfection realm. Each of them built up a shield that covered tens of thousands of warriors. The shield enveloped the more than 1 million warriors. Luli was also enveloped by a powerful warrior's shield, but he did not mind. Even if the toxic fog was 100 times stronger, he would not be able to stop it. He could absorb any kind of poison into his realm of magic and then refine it again. Why don't they put the warriors into their interspatial artifacts? Luli was curious. 1 million warriors seemed to be a lot. However, they could put them in with thousands of interspatial artifacts. It would not be so hard. They must want the warriors to be cannon fodder. Luli had an idea. The three indigenous forces were probably about to launch an attack. With the 1 million warriors, at least, the three indigenous forces would have time to react. Luli used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings and waited for the indigenous forces to attack. Many utmost powerful beings began to scout out the surroundings as well. Furthermore, some of them even released attacks to destroy the nearby forests in order to prevent them from being used by the three indigenous tribe races. Time passed bit by bit, and the soldiers were not particularly panicked. With so many powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm, even if something were to happen, they would be able to suppress it. The poisonous fog was also getting thicker and thicker, but no matter how thick the poisonous fog was, it was unable to penetrate the protective barrier released by an expert who was infinitely close to the great perfection realm. More than 1 million soldiers were waiting quietly, using silence to deal with the situation. 2 hours, half a day, 2 days. There was no movement in the surroundings. More than 1 million soldiers were squeezed together, and they were on high alert. It was so quiet that it was unnerving. For such a long time, it was inevitable that the soldiers would feel oppressed. However, the outside was filled with poisonous fog, and none of the soldiers dared to move recklessly. Those powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection stage could not remove their barriers and could only continue to hold on. The group of experts and the young master began to communicate telepathically, discussing countermeasures and ways to deal with various situations. Among them was a core martial artist, young Master Duan. This was the young patriarch of a nearby superpower. His status was extremely high, and all the clans and powers had to give him face. He organized the discussion. After discussing for half a day, there was still no movement nearby. The experts were a little puzzled. What were the three native clans doing? Were they not afraid that the other forces would send reinforcements? The longer they waited, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Soon, another day passed. Night fell. The surroundings were shrouded in darkness. The suffocating atmosphere became even more suffocating. Many warriors were on guard as well. They hoped that the nightmarish night would not come, or they would all be doomed. Luli was on the alert as well. An hour later, he was taken aback. He shouted, "Oh no, the nightmarish night is coming. Think of something." Luli's senses were amazing. Having experienced the nightmarish night before, he was very sensitive to it. Given the current situation, he could not afford to worry too much. He had to issue a warning first. Luli's shout caused a stir. The powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the great perfection stage were taken aback out of instinct. Then, many powerful warriors had doubts. They didn't feel anything was wrong. Why was Luli so sure that it was the nightmarish night? Not daring to be careless, they began to sense. Soon, a powerful warrior yelled, "Yes, it is the nightmarish night." When the powerful warrior confirmed it, all the warriors, including the powerful warriors, were taken aback. The best way to survive the nightmarish night was to run away at once and leave the range of the nightmarish night. But right now, they were trapped in a land of disaster and could not leave at all. There was nowhere for them to run, so they had to endure the nightmarish night. Something is not right. Luli suddenly thought of something. Why was the nightmarish night so coincidental? Why was it nearby? Was it a coincidence, or was it done by someone? If the nightmarish night was done by powerful warriors of the three native races, then it would be horrifying. It was pointless to dwell on such matters. Luli had to think about how to survive the nightmarish night. He almost had the urge to go to the realm of magic right away. It would not be a big deal if the warriors were attacked by the nightmarish night. But if the warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage were affected, then it would be a serious matter. The surrounding soldiers panicked. Fear appeared in the eyes of almost all the soldiers, and they looked around cautiously, afraid that the nearby soldiers would suddenly stab them. Young Master Duan and the others were panicking as well. Nobody could do anything in the nightmarish night. Even if they were in an interspatial artifact, they would still be affected. They didn't care about the lives of the average warriors. They wouldn't mind if all of them died. What they were afraid of was that the killing of the warriors would cause the powerful warriors to kill each other as well. In that case, they would all die. Therefore, young Master Duan said decisively, "Let's retreat and leave this place. It is dangerous here." In a nightmarish night, the more warriors there were, the more dangerous it would be. The more scattered they were, the easier it would be for them to survive. For the sake of their safety, it was better to split up. This was the most dangerous place. More than a dozen powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage escorted young Master Duan and the others away. As soon as those young masters and young ladies left, the other young masters and young ladies panicked. They all asked their escorts to take them away. There were more than 100 powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage, but they were basically here to protect the young masters and young ladies of their respective races and forces. Their departure caused a chain effect. More than half of them left at once. With the departure of the powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage, the shield disappeared. The poisonous fog spread over. Many warriors were poisoned at once. The situation wouldn't have changed immediately. As soon as the powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage left, an avalanche was set off. Many warriors screamed in fear. Chaos broke out. Then killing began. "We are doomed." Luli closed his eyes. He knew that the 1,000,000 warriors were doomed. Nobody could save them. In a couple of hours, none of them would be left alive. This place would turn into hell. Buzzing, Luli was not a savior. He could not save the warriors. He dashed into the Dharma realm and waited for the nightmarish night to pass. Master 3. Chapter 33:61. This place had turned into hell. The warriors were already tense after staying here for such a long time. They became even more panicked when they heard that they were in the nightmare night. When the young masters and young ladies and the warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm left, the warriors here collapsed. After the chaos, the melee broke out. When the first warrior died and blood flowed out, it was like a single spark setting the prairie ablaze. The eyes of countless cultivators turned blood red, and some of them started to attack the soldiers beside them. Many cultivators were killed, and the smell of fresh blood started to envelop the surroundings. All the cultivators went crazy. More than 1 million warriors started to attack each other. The more they killed, the more confused they became. At first, some warriors still had some sense. They didn't kill the warriors nearby when they were attacked. But as the number of attacks increased, the smell of blood thickened and the warriors lost their minds. There were warriors everywhere. They attacked each other. One warrior had just killed another, and then he was killed by another warrior behind him. Blood had dyed the ground red. Broken limbs and bodies piled up like mountains. Screams of pain, howls of anger, and beast-like screams came one after another. The earth trembled and the space trembled. This place had turned into hell. The killing went on for more than 4 hours. There was not a single warrior in the area. All of them were dead. As long as it was in the nightmare night, they would not stop until they killed all the living beings nearby. Therefore, the killing would go on until there was only one powerful warrior left. Just now, there was indeed one powerful warrior left, but he died not long after because of his severe injuries. Luli had been quietly sensing the situation outside. He was emotionless. He had seen many killings in his life. He had seen thousands die on battlefields. This was nothing. This was the first time Luli had seen the horror of a nightmare night in the immortal region. Even if there were 100 million warriors here, once they were enveloped by the nightmare night, all of them would die, let alone more than 1 million. Back to the question that Luli had been thinking about before. Was this bleak night just a coincidence? Or was it caused by the most powerful warriors of the 3 native races? If it was the latter, then it would be horrifying. It was a mysterious rule in the immortal region that the nightmare night could be controlled. Nightmares would be affected in the interspatial artifact, but not in the psychic realm. Luli felt he was in another world and was not affected at all. The nightmarish night was not over yet, so Luli didn't dare to go out. He waited inside. He was also thinking about how to break out of this situation. Go against the 3 native clans? Luli didn't have that kind of power yet. Even powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm were not enough, let alone him. Therefore, it was basically impossible to count on him to break out of this situation on his own. He could only hope that the great battle would end and this great formation would automatically be undone, or wait for the great perfection stage powerhouses of young Master Duan's clan to arrive. At that time, the great formation would also be easily broken, and he would be able to escape. Time flew by, and the night passed quickly. The moment the darkness disappeared, Luli came out at once. He moved quickly and put away the interspatial rings. There were over 1 million warriors and thousands of Saint Kings. Most of the interspatial rings were not destroyed. Luli had made a fortune of the dead. Yonkai's figure flickered quickly. He didn't care about the poisonous mist around him at all, and it only took him a stick of incense worth of time to collect all the space rings. I have made a fortune. After putting away the interspatial rings, Luli dashed into the Dharma field. He used psychic power to check. There were many celestial stones, materials, and pellets in many interspatial rings. There were over 1 million warriors here, and most of them were escorts. Since they could be escorts for the young masters and young ladies, they must be decent warriors. At the very least, they had a decent life. The interspatial rings wouldn't be too shabby either. There were some savings, more or less. Luli didn't pay too much attention after a few glances. If he could not get out, no amount of treasures would mean anything. He had to see how to get out first. He sent a message to Zishi, telling her to stay in the Dharma field. Then, Luli went out to have a look. He was surrounded by poisonous mist, but Luli was not afraid. Instead, he was excited. He used the Dharma field to absorb the poisonous mist nearby. He went into stealth mode and snuck into the depths. He wanted to find young Master Duan and the others. Now that the night had passed, young Master Duan and the others must have met up. By then, they would have to fight against the 3 native clans. Luli planned to watch the show and wait for a chance. As he had expected, dozens of miles later, Luli noticed that there was a fight up ahead. He sneaked over to have a look. He could tell that there were at least more than 1,000 warriors fighting. Many of them were close to the consummate realm. The fight was fierce. Luli didn't dare to get too close. He could only estimate the number and strength of the warriors from the battle. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he had an idea. On young Master Duan's side, there were about 70 or 80 warriors close to the consummate realm and more than 50 Saint Kings. On the other side, there were more warriors. There were nearly 1,000 Saint Kings and 60 or 70 warriors close to the consummate realm. On the other side, there were more warriors. There were about 1,000 Saint Kings and 60 or 70 warriors close to the consummate realm. Luli was not on young Master Duan's side. He hoped that young Master Duan's side could win and find a way out. At the very least, young Master Duan would not attack him. On the other hand, if the natives saw him, they would kill him. Retreat. An hour later, someone shouted. Then, warriors on young Master Duan's side began to retreat. After a round of attacks, the warriors on young Master Duan's side left. Luli followed them, but he was confused. This place was surrounded by the formation. Where could they go? What could they do even if they retreated to the edge? The natives could still go after them. They couldn't just go around in circles in the wretched land. Soon, Luli knew where the warriors were going. After flying for thousands of miles, they entered a shield. There were more than a dozen warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. They must have been building formations here, using this place as a base of defense. Whoosh! The more than 100 powerful warriors dashed into the shield. Luli didn't dare to go in, fearing that young Master Duan would think he was a spy. Luli sneaked to the side and went to the back of the formation. Then, he entered the realm of magic. One of the powerful warriors looked at Luli in surprise. He sensed something was wrong with the space. But by the time he tried to check, Luli had already entered the realm of magic. Whoosh! From a distance came some noises. The natives' powerful warriors were here. They were not in a hurry to attack. Instead, they waited in the distance. Half a day later, countless warriors swarmed in. They were in groups, and there was no end to them. A cold voice came out as well. Outsiders, do you think you can stop us with this formation? Now that you are in the wretched land, you will all die. All of you. Master 3. Chapter 3362. There were at least hundreds of thousands of indigenous people. There were 3 races. One of them was giants with white fur all over their bodies. Even their faces were covered in white fur. The other race was like leopards. They looked funny with claws on their hands and feet. The third race was ugly and ferocious, like beasts in human form. The 3 races gathered outside the shield and began to attack. But they were only attacking average warriors. None of the most powerful warriors took any actions. The formation had not been built for a long time. Therefore, the energy was not enough. With so many warriors attacking, it would not take long for the shield to be cracked. Boom, 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 boom. Hundreds of thousands of warriors attacked at the same time. It was a spectacular scene. The glaring lights were as beautiful as fireworks. The shield seemed to be under pressure. It was shaking and the color was fading. It was slow, but people could tell that it was weakening. 3 days. Luli was secretly sensing. It was a mess, so he was not worried that some powerful warriors would notice. He sensed for a while and made a judgment. If there were no accidents, then the light shield would explode in 3 days. What could he do in 3 days? Could the warrior at the Duan family at the consummate level get here in 3 days? If they couldn't make it, then 3 days later would be the doomsday of this group of experts. Young Master Duan and the others were anxious as well. They could not defeat the enemies, and the formation could not protect them. More importantly, they could not contact the outside world. They did not know if the outside world knew they were trapped. Time passed by. The shield was getting weaker. Young Master Duan and the others took out many materials to reinforce the formation. However, the hundreds of thousands of warriors were attacking continuously. The energy was being consumed fast. They had been discussing ways to solve the situation. However, in the face of absolute power, all their ideas were useless. The simplest reason was that they could not crack the formation in the entire land of misery. There were powerful warriors who had studied the formation here. There were so many powerful warriors. Some of them had profound knowledge of formation and runes, but none of them could crack the formation. Even if they could, it would take them a long time. The spirit arrays here were a combination of natural and man-made spirit arrays. Dozens of spirit arrays gathered together to form a super spirit array. To crack the formation, one must crack the runes. How difficult it was to crack dozens of formation together. Time passed quickly, and soon, 3 days had passed. The light barrier was about to break. Young Master Duan and the others were all on high alert, waiting for the moment to break the array to fight to the death. More powerhouses that were infinitely close to the Paragon level had arrived from the 3 races, and the number of powerhouses had already surpassed this side. Therefore, they were all prepared to die this time. They made up their minds to kill as many as they could. Other than the young ladies who were a little terrified, the rest of the young masters were relatively calm, and their mental fortitude was not bad. I wonder if this formation will be undone after these experts are killed. Luli was nervous as well. If the formation in the land of disaster could not be cracked, then he would not be able to leave. He would have to rely on Blood Fairy to crack the formation, which would take hundreds of years. Would Lu Xiaobai still be in the Mystic Armor City after hundreds of years? What would happen to Mo Qianqian, Wan Shi, Yu Yang, and the rest? Luli wasn't confident at all, so he hoped that he could leave this place as soon as possible. Boom! The light barrier of the magic array was finally broken. Young Master Duan and the others all had their morale boosted. They all took out their weapons and prepared to fight to the death. Boom, 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 boom. At this moment, a series of tremors suddenly came from the sky. It was like a thunderclap on a sunny day. Following that, black clouds suddenly condensed in the clear sky. Those black clouds were as thick as city walls. They gave off the feeling that they were mountains that could not be broken and could not be cut apart. A cold snort rang out. Then, a golden fist appeared in the sky. The fist seemed to have torn through the void, bringing with it an aura that could destroy the heavens and the earth as it struck towards the black cloud. What? At that moment, all the warriors, including Lu Li in the realm of Dharma, felt their hearts were in knots. None of the warriors could move. In their minds, the entire world had disappeared, and the only thing left was that huge golden fist. This was a miraculous scene. Lu Li was in the realm of Dharma at the moment. He did not use psychic power, but only the trace of Tao. That being said, the image of the golden fist appeared in his mind automatically. His soul trembled violently, as if he would be crushed by the gust of wind from the fist the next second. Absolute completion. Lu Li could not think of any other powerful warrior apart from a warrior at the absolute completion of the realm of Dharma, which was so intimidating and domineering. Boom! A shocking explosion came out. All the warriors' souls were trembling. Many warriors spat out blood, and their faces were drained of color. There were also countless warriors lying paralyzed on the ground. Their bodies were trembling in extreme fear. PFF, even Lu Li spat out some blood. He was appalled as well. That punch just now was above the clouds. That attack was outside, but he was in another world, and he was also injured by the shock. This was incomprehensible. After all, Lu Li did not even use psychic power. How could that powerful warrior hit him? An idea came to Lu Li's mind. Eventually, he thought of a possibility: fist intent. It was just like sword intent. Absolute experts could carry sword intent in their sword moves. Even if their sword moves didn't use divine power source power, a casual slash could still injure others with sword intent alone. It could even shatter the enemy's soul. Impressive. Lu Li was taken aback. After a moment, he used the mark of Tao to sense the outside again. It was a mess outside. The 3 native races had fled. Even their powerful warriors did not put up any resistance. All of them ran away. Ha ha ha. Young Master Duan laughed. Looking into the sky, he shouted, Our forefather has cracked the formation. Come with me. Let's kill all the remnants of the three races. The more than 100 warriors here were boosted in morale as well. They were filled with confidence. There was a warrior at the absolute completion of the realm of Dharma, but none of the three races had a warrior at the absolute completion. They were not on the same level. So many soldiers had been killed this time, and they were almost killed as well. They had been suppressing their anger and naturally wanted to vent it out. The more than 100 warriors went after them. The three races had lost their morale. They had to run for their lives. They had no more concerns. Soon, in the time for one incense stick to burn, the hundreds of thousands of warriors here were all gone. The formation is cracked. Luli was excited to hear this. How could a warrior at the absolute realm crack such a horrifying formation with one punch? Did that mean he could leave the land of misery now? Let's go. Luli didn't think too much. He dashed out and sneaked out at once. Then he went into stealth mode and ran outside. So what if he was spotted by that warrior at the absolute realm? Would such a powerful warrior trouble a small fry like him? Standing in the void was a brown-haired old man with a strong build. But none of the warriors could sense this old man. As soon as Luli showed up, there was a glint of surprise in the old man's eyes. Seeing Luli dashing away like a rabbit, the old man murmured, "This human punk is good at hiding. I didn't see him?" Third Master. Chapter 3363. The brown-haired old man at the consummate stage of the Duan family thought about it for a while. He looked at another old man who was very close to the consummate stage who was still fighting in the distance. The brown-haired old man moved his lips and said to the old man, "Duan and I, go after that human punk and bring him back to the city of Duan." To the Duan family, the brown-haired old man's words were like an imperial edict. After a moment of surprise, the old man turned around and ran away without any hesitation. The brown-haired old man waved his hand and sent a strand of chi into Duan Ni's body. The brown-haired old man said, "That punk's cloaking skills are amazing. This is his chi and energy. It will help you track him down. Don't kill him. Bring him back." "Yes, family patriarch." Duan and I nodded. He checked the chi and energy and then went to the west. As a matter of fact, the brown-haired old man could have killed Luli easily. But warriors at the consummate stage would not stoop to doing that. They had their pride. If this matter were to be spread out, it would damage their reputation. He was quite interested in a warrior that could sneak under his nose. He didn't necessarily want to kill Luli, but he was just curious. Oh no, Luli had left the land of disaster. The formation here was cracked. That warrior at the consummate stage blasted it open with one punch. Just as Luli was hundreds of thousands of miles away from the land of disaster, he sensed something was not right. He sensed danger, and he felt that the space behind him was fluctuating strangely. A powerful warrior is after me. An idea came to Luli's mind. Without any hesitation, he dashed into the realm of Dharma and used the mark of Tao to sense carefully. Whoosh! Not long afterward, a man came from behind, whooshing over. Luli sensed the fluctuation in space and stopped at once. Duan and I was fast. He flew past the area where Luli was but stopped after a few thousand miles. His eyebrows were knitted together. He used psychic power to the limit and murmured, "Cloaking skills are amazing. How come his presence is gone?" Duan and I came back. He wandered around and found the area where Luli disappeared to. He launched attacks and blasted an area with a radius of 30 miles into smithereens. Yet, he failed to force Luli out. Duan and I frowned. Luli could not have disappeared for no reason. His family patriarch gave Luli a strand of chi, which must be Luli's origin energy. Duan and I could find Luli by following the chi. However, the chi disappeared all of a sudden and Luli was nowhere to be found. His family patriarch said that Luli was just a minor warrior, a Saint Emperor at best. How could a Saint Emperor know such cloaking skills? Did he just teleport to travel and went? Is that why I cannot sense him? A thought flashed across Duan Ni's mind. Apart from this reason, he could not think of any other reason. If the aura was too far away, it would be impossible to sense it. Since the family patriarch had given the order, he must bring Luli back, even if it would take him years. Therefore, after a moment of consideration, he decided to fly into the distance. He wanted to go to a place with a radius of hundreds of millions of miles to see if he could sense Luli's presence. Is he gone? Luli waited for an hour before he checked carefully. All the mountains nearby had been blasted into pieces. He did not sense any powerful warrior's energy. He made up his mind and left. Then, he used skill of transfiguration to change his looks and stealth skill to fly to the south. This time, Luli only flew for 6 to 8 hours and covered a distance of tens of millions of miles. Luli sensed something again. He felt uncomfortable, as if danger was approaching. Buzzing, without hesitation, Luli entered the Dharma realm. Soon, Duan and I caught up with Luli. When he was close enough, Duan and I noticed that Luli had disappeared again. Duan and I was shocked. Duan and I had followed Luli because he sensed Luli's energy. However, Luli disappeared again after a short distance. Duan and I was amazed by Luli's cloaking skills. This punk must have the ability to travel across the void. Duan and I searched the vicinity for a while, then expanded the range again and searched into the distance. Luli, on the other hand, was troubled. This powerful warrior had been on his trail, and he was quite good at tracking. Luli had used skill of transfiguration, and yet the warrior could still track him down. Is it that warrior at the consummate realm? Luli had this thought, but he shook his head. If it were that powerful warrior, Luli would not have been able to escape. He would have been captured or killed. Right, I should ask Zishi. Luli remembered the mysterious girl in the interspatial artifact. The girl had many unimaginable abilities, and she might be able to help him. Luli dashed into the interspatial artifact. Shinya Zishi was eating some fruits in boredom. Seeing Luli come in, Zishi ran over, grabbed Luli's arm, and said, "Brother Lu, when can I go out? It's so boring here. We have left the land of disaster." Luli explained, "But you cannot go out yet. A powerful warrior close to the consummate realm is on my trail." Luli told her about the situation and then asked if Zishi had any ideas. Zishi thought about it and said, "There is a way. Brother Lu, if you can escape later, go and find some powerful immortal beasts. Then I will suppress the immortal beasts. When that powerful warrior comes, we will run away immediately." Sure. Luli thought about it and agreed that it was a good idea. He had the teleportation skill. When he released the skill, he could be as fast as a warrior close to the consummate realm, or even faster. Using immortal beasts would be a good way to escape. Luli waited quietly. This time, it took him half a day to come out. Then he flew to the southwest at the top of his speed. Along the way, he searched for mountains and swamps. There were many ferocious beasts and immortal beasts, but none as powerful as what Luli hoped to see. Here they are again. Luli sensed danger. He used psychic power to the limit. If he could not find them in the time for 10 breaths, then he would have to enter the Dharma realm. There is one. Luli suddenly sensed something. He sensed a powerful chi and energy in a huge abyss in front of him. The chi and energy were horrifying. It must be an extremely powerful immortal beast. Swish! He made up his mind and rushed into the abyss. His interspatial artifact glowed and Zishi came out. He asked, "There is a powerful immortal beast in front of us. Are you sure you can suppress it? Otherwise, we will all die." Zishi closed her eyes and sensed for a while. She nodded with certainty and said, "No problem." Swish! Luli rushed into the abyss. A huge monster opened its eyes in the abyss. Its chi and energy spread out like a sea of blood. But before it could move, Zishi made her move. She released green energy all over her body. The huge beast quieted down and crawled in the abyss. The powerful chi and energy disappeared, and it was still trembling. What kind of existence is the Chinya clan? Luli was shocked. This immortal beast should be as powerful as a warrior close to the consummate realm, but it was suppressed so easily. It was still trembling. This strange skill of the Chinya clan was too horrifying. Chapter 3364. Whoosh! Soon, Duan and I arrived near the abyss. He was so fast that he didn't even try to sense it carefully. He just followed the chi and energy. When he rushed into the abyss and found the huge, immortal beast with psychic power, his expressions changed. Luli and Zishi were standing next to the beast. Luli looked up at Duan and I and smiled. Then a white glare came out from his body. He shot into the sky in a blur. He was even faster than Duan and I. You want to run? Duan and I pulled a long face. He was about to make a move when he heard a roar that shook heaven and earth. Without Zishi's suppression, the immortal beast naturally began to go berserk. Clearly, this beast was not intelligent. It was enraged that Duan and I and Lu Li had intruded into its territory. It didn't dare to do anything to Zishi and Lu Li, so it had to vent its anger on Duan and I. The gigantic beast roared and spat out an orange flame, which enveloped Duan and I. If Duan and I did not defend himself, he would be burned immediately. He threw a resentful look at where Lu Li disappeared to and began to fight against the beast. The swift skill was freakish, especially when Lu Li's current speed was very fast. He took a detour and flew towards the southeast. He had no scruples now. He flew in midair. He would be an idiot if he didn't speed up when the swift skill was so fast. Also, that immortal beast could buy him some time. As long as he could get to the eastern region, he would be much safer. The swift skill could last for an hour. Even though it was only for a short time, Lu Li could cover hundreds of millions of miles with his current speed. He ran into many warriors along the way. But Lu Li was fast. Even though his chi and energy were not strong, no warrior dared to provoke him. An hour later, Lu Li had traveled a distance of 1 or 2 days. He would arrive at the Cloud King City in another 1 or 2 days. He would be safe at the Cloud King City. Would that powerful warrior dare to come to the Cloud King City to attack him? Lu Li slowed down. He had to because the aftereffects of the swift skill had come. He was weak and his face was pale. Not only his body, but his soul was also weak. Normally, Lu Li should go to the magic realm to rest, but he forced himself to hold on. He entered into a state of concealment, refining the divine medicines and pills along the way. This was the most difficult situation for Lu Li. He was weak to begin with, but he had to force himself to fly and check the surroundings. It was torture for Lu Li. Later on, Lu Li could not stand it anymore. He had to let Zishi out and let her explore. Lu Li himself closed his eyes and rested. He flew blindly under Zishi's command. After a couple of hours, Lu Li had recovered a bit. They had been flying for so long, but the expert behind them still hadn't caught up. Lu Li wondered if that powerful warrior had been killed by that immortal beast, or was he heavily injured? Brother Lu, there's an expert chasing after us. After flying for another 2 hours, Zishi suddenly screamed. Lu Li didn't dare to act rashly. He put Zishi into his interspatial ring and then entered the magic realm. Sure enough, it didn't take long for Duan and I to fly over. His aura wasn't as strong as before. It seemed like his vitality had been injured. When he noticed that Lu Li was nowhere to be found, he bellowed in rage. Then, he launched his attacks and smashed the mountains nearby. After a round of bombardment, Duan and I was a little confused. He began to doubt himself. Could he catch up with Lu Li? He saw Lu Li in the abyss. Lu Li was just a warrior of the Emperor Realm. How could a warrior of the Emperor Realm be faster than him? He realized that Lu Li must have used some kind of secret skill to increase his speed for a short time. That being said, it was freaky that a warrior of the Emperor Realm could reach such a speed. Also, Lu Li's mysterious disappearance ability. Therefore, Duan and I began to doubt himself. Could he catch up with Lu Li? Could he catch him? If it were any other situation, he would have given up. However, this was an order from the Duan family patriarch. He couldn't just go back with his tail between his legs. If he did, the family patriarch would look down on him. By then, his status in the tribe would be degraded. Let's go after him for a bit longer. Let's go to the eastern region. Duan and I made up his mind. If Lu Li escaped to the eastern region, then there would be nothing he could do. The eastern region was too dangerous. Also, their tribe was a well-known one. Rashly entering the eastern region might cause a misunderstanding with the forces there. Duan and I began a search nearby. He wandered around for several days, but found no trace of Luli. Duan and I had to expand his search range. Luli had rested in the realm of magic for half a month. His body had recovered. He thought it was about time. He activated the trace of the Great Path to check. Making sure that the powerful warrior was not there, Luli rushed out and flew toward the Cloud King city. He didn't bother to go into stealth mode or use skill of transfiguration. He flew at the top of his speed. He knew that the powerful warrior would catch up with him. His only hope now was to arrive at the Cloud King city before the powerful warrior caught up. Luli knew that the Cloud King city was the territory of a super force. That force was probably not an ally of the Duan family, because the force was much more powerful than the Duan family. It was the most powerful force at the eastern side of the southern region. Back when the eastern region and the southern region were at war, this force resisted the eastern region's army for a month. As long as Luli could arrive at the Cloud King city, that powerful warrior wouldn't dare to do anything rash. Using force in the city would be a provocation to this force. Not even a powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm would have the guts to provoke this force. Under normal circumstances, Luli wouldn't fly in such a high-profile manner. If he ran into an old warrior, he might be smashed to death directly. But now, Luli couldn't worry about that. He had to get away first. Maybe it was because he was close to the Cloud King city. There were no old warriors here, but there were many immortal beasts and ferocious beasts. Duan and I caught up with Luli after more than a day. Luli was in a dilemma. The Cloud King city should be close. If he used Swift, he should be able to arrive at the Cloud King city in less than an hour. Let's do it. Luli didn't want to go back to the realm of magic. There was a drawback in the realm of magic. He would have to go in and out of the same place. If Duan and I were to wait where he was, how could Luli survive? He would have to stay in the realm of magic. Luli used Swift again and sped up. Duan and I caught up with him. He could sense Luli with psychic power. However, Luli was faster than him. Duan and I could only watch as Luli disappeared in front of him. Cloud King City? He is going to the Cloud King City? Duan and I was worried. If Luli went to the Cloud King City, then it would be troublesome. Luli was right. The Duan family was not on good terms with the overlord of the Cloud King City. After all, the two families were neighbors. How could they be on good terms? Duan and I went after Luli. As he expected, Luli was flying toward the Cloud King City in a straight line. An hour later, Duan and I saw the Cloud King City. He saw Luli rushing to the city gate, handing over the celestial stones and entering the city. Duan and I was stunned for a moment. Then he flew into the city with a gloomy face. As long as Luli didn't go to the eastern region, then there was still a chance. Chapter 3365. The Cloud King City was large, much larger than the East Spirit City. The city walls were tall and sturdy. On top of the walls stood many warriors that looked like javelins. It was an awe-inspiring sight. Luli had to pay 10 million celestial stones to get in. It was a testament to the high standard of the city. Even with such a high entrance fee, it was still crowded. Luli took a look and found there were at least 10 million warriors in the city. Not every warrior could come in. Usually, they were at the Emperor Realm or Saint King Realm. The number of people who passed 6 trials was pitifully low. The patrolling warriors in the city were all Saint King Realm warriors. Granted, there were only 10 warriors in a team, but it was a bit extravagant for the regular army to use Saint King Realm warriors. When he entered the city, the warriors outside the city told Luli that no fighting was allowed in the city. Otherwise, all warriors would die without exception. Luli was not panicked. Instead, he was overjoyed. At least he was safe in the Cloud King City. If the powerful warrior chasing after him dared to do anything, he would die as well. Luli didn't dare to be careless after he came in. He went to the tavern at once and asked the waiter for information. He was relieved to make sure that the Cloud King City's ruler was not on good terms with the Duan family. He planned to stay in the city for a while and find out the situation at the East region. By the time they reached Cloud King City, they were only halfway there. The latter half of the journey would be more difficult. Therefore, if he rashly went into the East region without any information, it would be miserable. He had made a fortune from the dead at the wretched land and had a huge amount of wealth. It would be safer if there were merchant ships. He wouldn't mind even if he had to pay billions of celestial stones. When he was dead, all his worldly possessions would belong to others. That powerful warrior is in the city, Zishi said after they sat in the tavern for a while. The Chinye race's senses were even better than Lu Li's. Zishi could sense Duan Ni's qi and energy. Lu Li nodded and said, "Keep sensing and see if he is near." Zishi closed her eyes. After a while, she said, "He is nearby, not too far away. He has entered a tavern." "Okay." Lu Li nodded. If Duan and I didn't dare to come to the tavern directly, then he wouldn't do anything in the city. At least he was safe in the city. He was not in a hurry, so he rested in the inn and let Zishi protect him. He decided to take a good rest and recover to his peak state first. The after effects of the swift art were very strong. Duan and I could sense Lu Li's qi and energy. She could easily locate where Lu Li was, but he didn't dare to act recklessly. He was confident that he could kill Lu Li in an instant. That being said, he knew that once he did so, he would die for sure. Not even his family patriarch could save him. The fact that Lu Li was in a coma was proof that he had used some secret skill to be so fast. He checked carefully and was sure that Lu Li was at the Emperor realm. He was even more surprised. At this moment, he finally understood why his family patriarch asked him to bring Lu Li back. There were too many strange things about Lu Li. He must have several powerful skills. If they could acquire those skills, it would be of great benefit to the Duan family. I have to think of something. Duan and I thought about it. After a while, he walked out of the tavern and went to a castle in the city. There were guards outside the castle. Duan and I took out a token and said, "Please tell them that Duan and I is here to see Patriarch Yun Zhongtian." No warrior in the city could use force. The only ones that could were warriors of the Yun family. Therefore, Duan and I had to rely on warriors of the Yun family. The relationship between the Yun family and the Duan family was not good. That being said, Lu Li was just an insignificant warrior. Duan and I believed the patriarch of the Yun family would do him a favor. Lu Li was not familiar with Yun Zhongtian, but he had met him several times. Duan and I was a powerful warrior close to the consummate realm and a patriarch of the Duan family. As soon as he handed over his token, a Saint King came out and politely invited him in. Patriarch Yun Zhongtian summoned Duan and I in the main hall. Even though they were both patriarchs and warriors close to the consummate realm, Yun Zhongtian's attitude was higher than Duan Ni's, which could be seen from the fact that Yun Zhongtian didn't greet Duan and I in person. The Yun family was more powerful than the Duan family because the Yun family had 2 warriors at the consummate realm and many warriors close to the consummate realm. Duan and I hated Yun Zhongtian's arrogance, but he didn't show it. After all, he was here to ask for help, and he couldn't be too arrogant. Duan and I expressed his admiration for Yun Zhongtian. He said that he was just passing by and came to pay a visit. He even gave Yun Zhongtian a gift. Yun Zhongtian didn't accept the gift. He just picked up the interspatial ring and glanced at it. Then, he put it on the table and pushed it over. "Brother Duan and I, this gift is too valuable. I don't deserve it. I don't dare to accept it." "Ha ha ha." Duan and I laughed and said, "As a matter of fact, I am here to ask for a small favor from you, Brother Zhongtian. If I can help you, I will be rewarded. If this can be done, I will owe you a favor. If there is anything I can do for you, I will do my best." "Oh." Yun Zhongtian frowned. The gift was valuable, but it was nothing. A favor from Duan and I was worth much more. After all, the Duan family was a big family. A powerful warrior like Duan and I would keep his word. Lu Li asked, "What is it?" "If I can help, I will not refuse. Capture a warrior for me." Duan and I went straight to the point. "This warrior has entered the Cloud King's city. He is a great Emperor Realm warrior. I cannot do anything in the city, so I can only count on you, Brother Zhongtian. If you can capture him secretly and send him out of the city, I will be grateful. An insignificant warrior and a patriarch of the Yun family were worlds apart. With Yin Zhongtian's help, he could capture Lu Li easily, and then he could go back and explain to the family patriarch. Yin Zhongtian remained expressionless. He lowered his eyebrows in silence. After a while, he shook his head and said, I am sorry, Brother Duan and I. My family patriarch is very strict in this regard. The iron law cannot be broken. If I dare to act recklessly, I will be found out soon. By then, my position as a patriarch will be taken away. You should know my family patriarch's character. Duan and I pulled a long face. He had heard of the Yun family patriarch's character. He was cold-blooded and heartless, both to the outside and to the inside. The system of the Yun family was perfect. As long as one had the ability, he could stand out. As long as one had the talent, he could get resources. Over the years, the Yun family had produced many geniuses. The Yun family had been growing stronger, which had a lot to do with the family patriarch. That being said, where there was light, there was also darkness. Duan and I did not believe that the patriarchs of the Yun family were so fair and impartial. He must have not offered enough. Loyalty was because the price of betrayal was not high enough. Duan and I agreed with this statement. After a while, he took out another interspatial ring, handed it over, and said, Patriarch Zhongtian, this is an amber crystal I got by chance. There's an ancient wonder in it. I have never been able to see through it. Can you help me identify it? Amber crystal? Ancient wonder? Yin Zhongtian paused for a moment. Then he picked up the interspatial ring and checked it with psychic power. After a while, he was moved. His eyes glowed. After a moment of silence, he said, I cannot see through it either. Maybe I need some time to study it. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.